Hello, hello. Hello, Vanel. Let me get my window back up. There we go. There we go. We're proceeding. It's fine. Oh, here, let me adjust my window. No? No. There we go. Yeah, we'll hit load. There. We're gonna excuse me. We're gonna start back up. We're on Saturday in Leo's route. We're meeting up with Leo at the diner. We just had a fun morning with Kadzu. I think that's all that's happened today. On Saturday in this route. So yeah. I guess we'll just get in there, we'll try to finish this. Right? Maybe. I don't think we'll actually finish tonight, but wouldn't that be fun? Wouldn't that be nice if we did? Leo's not in the diner when I get there. I pick a booth towards the back, resting my head against the patchy cushions and closing my eyes. The week's gone by so fast. Hello, Q. It feels like only yesterday that we actually got here. Thinking back, I remember worrying that everything was going to be awkward, that our past would catch up in the worst way possible. And it kind of did. We didn't fix or talk about anything. That gives me a jolt of realization and sadness. This whole time, I'd been preoccupied with Leo, and Leo with me. Wasn't Leo the one that was all concerned about us not keeping the pack together? This send-off feels empty and pointless. It's really the last time I might get to hang out with some of them, mainly Jenna and TJ. TJ's not really a loss, though, let's face it. And TJ had the most shit to air out. Did I fuck up by basically ignoring him this whole time? I feel a lump in my throat as I think about the hike I never went on with him. Sure, I figured things out with Leo, at least temporarily. Very temporarily, actually. Already things are in jeopardy again. But now it feels like things I should have talked about with the others others have been buried further. Even though I haven't seen the others for a few days, I can feel their resentment, and knowing that Leo and I got what we wanted. Or at least I thought I got what I wanted. Especially after leaving them to deal with the fallout of Flynn's meltdown. And now, because of that, it'll be harder to reach the root of the problem, harder to talk about it. Aw, sorry. That's fine. See you. And because of that, we probably never will. Well, oh, that's his newer portrait, right? Huh. I glance at my dead phone, reminded of the complete lack of text from anyone other than Leo. Alright, see you, Q. I suppose this is life. Sometimes things are buried and never talked about again. And in a way, I guess that's for the best. Sydney's death will die with us. It just sucks that we all carry it, but it can't rely on each other for support. I take a deep breath, wondering how long it will take me to process this whole trip. Or maybe my entire life up to this point. It's at this point that I notice Janice hasn't come up to take my order. The diner itself is completely quiet, and no old rockabilly coming over the staticky speakers. I look over, wondering if maybe the place is closed. I remember a few businesses didn't lock their doors. Mostly because of negligent, that's what that says, employees, because burglary is somewhat common here. I look through the plastic window and the swinging door to the kitchen, past the counter, and notice that the fluorescent lights are definitely on. In fact, it looks like I can see some movement from the shadows on the wall. I think about getting up and knocking on the door to let them know I'm here, but that's when the front door pushes open. Leo comes in, a big grin on his face. Chula! Oh, my stomach twists as he sweeps up to the side, to my side, and I can't help but jerk it away when he kisses at my cheek. He pulls back, frowning. Jace? I sigh, not able to meet his eyes. Leo, I need to talk to you about something. Immediately, I can see the worry in his eyes. He steps back, watching me. What? Sit down. Why? Leo asks, but sits down anyway. First off, I can tell he... First off, I have to tell him that I looked at his fucking phone, and that's a bad idea. I look to the right, and heart pounding. Otter, what is it? His voice is soft, but I can hear the slight tremble in it. Leo, I looked at your phone. What? I jump as Leo's hackles raise, and he bares his teeth. It's not an angry reaction, more defensive, fearful. Oh, hello, Selkie. Leo? Why the fuck would you do that? I shrink back, looking down as I listen to his breathing pick up. I'm sorry, but you know what I saw. Fuck. Fuck, man. Leo puts his face in his hands, which gives me an opportunity to look up. His ears are down, drooping towards the table. Why did you do that? Ah, Levy, hello. I wait while Leo continues to hide his face, his body rocking. Not now. Not now what? You can't do this to me now. Not after... I didn't do anything. You're the one texting people that I didn't give a fuck about them. His head snaps up, then I can see his eyes glistening. I didn't say that. I just said you were busy. And what you said to TJ. Leo winces at that one, and he slumps back into his booth, his face dejected, desperate. Please, Chase, just try to understand. What? I felt some anger in my voice, wanting to show Leo that I'm not gonna forgive him just because he's sad. And I think he realizes that because his face changes, lips bared out of anger this time. Yeah, I'm real fucking guilty, aren't I? Yeah, you are. Says the asshole that just ditched me, avoids me, won't talk to me. Ah, hello, Michael. I don't say anything in response. And you wonder why I fucked up about this. Why I'm fucked up about this. You're the one that just walked out and left me. I was young. Yeah, you keep saying that like you're not young now. If you had actually dumped me, then maybe I wouldn't be this fucked up about it. The last sentence escalates into a scream, and I flatten back into the booth, glaring at him. Leo had never hurt me before, but I'm not afraid he will now. I've endured plenty of his tantrums. Do you know how crazy this makes you look? Oh great, you too! I'm serious, this is fucking unacceptable. I'm drawing the line here. The Leo's snarling face turns up, and that's when I hear movement behind me. I turn in my seat to see Janice striding out from behind the counter, the kitchen door swinging shut behind her. Janice? Leo's fur flattens back down, like he's forgotten all about our argument. It makes sense why. Something's wrong. Janice had been acting strange all week, gradually looking more haggard and pissed off as time went on. Of course, I hadn't forgotten what had happened on the side of the road a few days back, but I'd been content with just assuming it had been some type of drug-filled adventure of hers. And now I'm convinced she's having a mental breakdown. Her fur is... Sorry. Yeah, let me blow my nose real quick. There. Maybe that'll make it not like the irritated. Bless. Ugh. Thanks, Bunyo. Excuse me. Her fur is, is mussed up on every inch of her body. Her eyes are wild and wide, similar to how I'd seen Clint earlier. Don't blow your nose in the microphone, but people like the ASMR. Blood is smeared across her apron and the handle of a knife sticking out from the front pocket. Janice, are you okay? Leo's half standing. I'm not sure if it's because he's afraid of her or of her. She doesn't say anything, and as she sidles up next to our booth, I slide a bit towards the inside. Under her wild gaze, I'm feeling a little trapped. Ah, hello, Mega Puppy. Janice. Why all the shouting? A little impatient. Well, let me take your orders and I'll get you settled. Are you okay? Are you cooking? Leo gazes at her apron. Yes, I'm cooking today. What can I make you? I get the unnerving feeling that she isn't even looking at us. Duh. Leo glances back at me, to which I respond with a bewildered look on my face, of my own. I think we might... Nonsense, I've got everything fired up in the kitchen. Leo doesn't respond, just stares at the big coyote. Janice smiles crookedly. Well, if you're not gonna order something, then I'll just make your favorite. With that, she turns and starts waddling off, having not even acknowledged me. What the fuck? I reach into my pocket, thinking about calling an ambulance for the poor woman, until I remember my phone is dead. I whisper over to Leo. Should we leave? Maybe. But Leo doesn't move, just stares after Janice. I look out the window to the sun-baked road. Have you noticed that something's off? About Janice? No shit! Not just her, the whole town. I think about mentioning the meadow with Clint and Brian, but I'm still trying to absorb that myself. Leo sits back, still looking back at the kitchen door where Janice disappeared. Honestly, people act so crazy here. I don't know if it's because of the drugs, or because they're actually crazy. I see his nose twitch. And I don't think she knows how to cook. Something smells funny in there. I look back out the window, wondering if I should bring up our argument again. That scene with Janice has totally thrown me off, and I'm reluctant to waste more energy on yelling. It has to be brought up again somehow. We can't just let this sit. It's clear that that's exactly what Leo wants, though, so I huff and stare out the window. This fucking town. I haven't been paying much attention to it in the past few days. Been too frustrated with... infatuated. Yeah, infatuated with Leo. I mean, I'd be the same. It is, sure, I'd seen some weird things, but it seems in my absence, everything has gone to fucking Wacky Shack. Wacky Shack. Okay. I look at Leo. Have you been noticing any of this weird shit going on? Leo sighs. Again, I never knew that's what's weird or not here. I guess I've noticed a few things. I frown. We're just hoping I wouldn't notice? Or were you just hoping I wouldn't notice? Leo doesn't say anything. Instead, he just goes on staring at the kitchen. Would he really just let me blindly move to this town when he knows everyone was going crazy? Looking out the window, I noticed a figure moving up the street, jogging. A feline. TJ? Is that Teach? Why the fuck does it oh. Oh, I'm sorry, Dragon. Yeah, I don't know how YouTube notifications work. I don't know. That's not my department. I just hit the go button. Anyway, hello. Leo glances out the window. Looks like it. Out for a jog, of course. The wolf turns his attention back to the counter as Janice comes out, a messy, dribbling milkshake in her hand. Hey, Janice! What are you cooking back there? I glance at the crazy coyote as she wobbles over to us, staring at the milkshake with wide eyes. Oh, meat. Leo lets out a hollow laugh. What kind of meat? I'll be honest with you. It's a bit it's a bit tough and stringy. I lose interest in their conversation and instead look back at TJ. I feel like something's off for sure. He's a ways away, but he looks kind of afraid. One of his hands reached out like a bat or something. Something's wrong. I mutter it under my breath and start to stand, set on getting out there to see what's going on with him. But at the moment, a truck pulls into the parking lot right in front of our window. I find myself staring right at Duke. I also see something big in the back of his pickup, a brown furred head poking over the roof. Duke? Leo snaps his head out of the window. As the weasel gets out of his truck, I see something in his hand. A gun. Shit. Language, Leo. He's bringing in a gun. Leo reaches across the table to me. Not while I'm here. Janice? She's already striding over to the door just as Duke pushes through it. Chase, get down. But Duke spots us immediately. I told you to not to fucking run away from me. He starts towards our table, but Janice, on her way towards the kitchen, intercepts him. Duke, is that a gun? I am not going to have you barging in here to ruin the peace. She sticks her bulky body in his way. Get the fuck out of my way, cunt. Language. It's as if Janice doesn't notice that there's a fucking gun being waved around next to her face. I reach out and grab Leo's arm, trying to pull him down. Call the police. My phone's dead. Leo slowly sits, then looks around. The only exit is at the front. We're trapped. You don't think those fuckers are behind all of this? You've been seeing that otter around too, haven't you? I'm not concerned about that anymore. I've made things right. You're not fucking concerned that what happened to our grandparents is happening to us. I won't ask you to leave again. Her voice is threatening. From this angle, I can't see her hands, but I can see that she's reaching for something. Oh my god. Chase, get down! Leo's voice is bizarrely calm, but as he reaches over to me, I can feel him shake. He presses down on my shoulder, and as I'm about to slide under the table, I see Janice move forward, then I cover my head and cower against the booth under the table. Okay. Leo shouts and shouts me up against the side, covering me with his arms. I hear him breathe heavily into my ear, and I stare wide-eyed from under the booth, only able to see the dirty, beige wall opposite of us. Leo's breathing is all I can hear, otherwise it's silent. And then I hear Duke muttering something under his breath, followed by soft, padding footsteps. A few seconds later, his legs come into view, and his feet turn towards us. I see the gun dangling from one hand before he raises it slightly, pointing it at us. I close my eyes. How did this happen? Just seconds ago, Leo and I were arguing, and now I'm about to fucking die. Well, that happens, Chase. That happens. I keep my eyes tightly closed, hugging to Leo as hard as I can and wait. But nothing happens. I keep my face pressed into Leo's chest, though, wondering if I'm already dead. Finally, Duke speaks up. Leo, out! Otter, you stay there! I feel Leo hesitate against me, then his lips press against my ear. It'll be okay, baby. Just stay there. Slowly, he untangles my arms from him. Then, with his hands up, he pushes out from under the table and stands up. Face the wall! Leo hesitates and Duke growls. I ain't gonna fucking kill you. We're just figuring out what's happening is all. Killing you doesn't fix anything. The last guy got killed, and that didn't fix shit. You shot Janice! 'Cause she got in my fucking way, but it doesn't matter. Everything's fucked up now. Leo turns to face the wall slowly. I watch from the space between the table and the booth. What do you want? To fix this fucking town. You started something with the solder. This has all happened before. Duke looks out the window and makes a come on motion with his hand. We're gonna stop this from happening this time. Leo looks to his left. But you fucking killed Janice. I hear the wolf's voice break silently. Doesn't matter in the long run. The doors rattle as someone comes in. You got the zip ties. Hands behind your back, Leo. Leo looks at whatever just came in. Come on. Now. Oh, is this the first time we see Brian's portrait? Leo does as he's told, and I see a pair of massive paws reach forward to bind the wolf's wrists. I swallow hard as I watch Brian pull the zip ties tight. Duke puts a forearm to his nose. Fuck, you stink. I hope you didn't kill that ringtail. We could use him. Brian just grins in response, his teeth yellow. My heart sinks as I think about Clint. Had he been warning me to run? Why had I thought that him hanging from the tree like that was probably just a normal thing for him and the bear? Was he a victim of whatever crazy had just hit the town? That must have been what was going on. All of this is hitting at once. It can't be a coincidence. Clint was probably just as scared as I am now. Grab the otter and tie him up too. Just stick him in your trailer for now. My stomach drops. Duke gestures with his gun again. Come on, out! My legs are lead. I can't move. Leo looks over his shoulder at me, and the fear in his eyes scare me even more. His muzzle moves, mouthing something. Run. But still, I can't move. I've never been so scared in my life. It's like everything is numb. Brian doesn't care, though, and moves forward, the look on his face eager. The gun goes off again. Everyone, including Brian, jumps, and I hit the floor with my hands over my head. Fuck! Fuck! I look up and see Duke, eyes extra wide, dancing around, pointing the gun upwards at the ceiling. Fuck, you see that? She's crawling around up there. I told you she's on my ceiling every night, watching me. Brian looks up too, and for the first time, his face is twisted into an expression that isn't stupidly grinning. It's full of fear. But when I look up, I see nothing. Chase! Leo hisses at me, and that jolts me back to reality. Without even willing myself to do it, I shoot out from under the table. In front of me are two exits, the front doors and the kitchen door, which is closer. There has to be an exit in the kitchen, but I'm not sure of that. My legs are already making me run, though I have to make a choice now. I mean, I like my odds with the front door, you know what I mean? I don't think we want to see Julian today, you know what I mean? I have no idea if that kitchen has an exit, and there's no way I can risk that. Don't look back, Chase. Just go as fast as you can. As I charge down the aisle, I almost trip over the large form of Janice. She's laying on her stomach, hands outstretched. A smear of red leads to the knife a few feet in front. I don't have time to dwell on it as I leap over her body, then charge through the doors. The bright sun and heat contrast heavily with the cool dimness of the diner, but I don't have time to wait for my eyes to adjust. I take off down the road. A few seconds later, I hear the door smash as something large and heavy comes right after me. I don't look back. I gasp and wheeze as I run up the road and turn onto Leo Street. No one's around, and aside from the dull thumping Some distance behind me, it's completely silent. Something terrible has happened. And not just in the diner, the entire town. I'm not sure why I decided to run to Leo's house, but my mind is numb and reasoning is gone. Briefly, I think about Kudzu, but I run past his yard. I don't see any sign of him, and I don't have time to try his door. I slam into Leo's door, pushing it open as I do. I slam it back, shut, and lock it with a deadbolt. Then take off for the hall for Leo's room. I hear the doorknob turning before back and forth as something heavy slams into it. I don't even know if Leo has a landline, and I look left and right wildly, not spotting a single thing that might be a telephone. I reach Leo's room and shut the door, wishing it had a lock. And jumping to the outlet on the wall for the wall charger, I clumsily take my phone out of my pocket. It takes 3 tries to successfully jam the thing into my phone. Bouncing with terror, I watch as the screen lights up, giving me the battery charging symbol. Not enough power for it to turn on. Something shatters just down the hall, and I almost piss myself. It's followed by silence. I don't dare to even breathe. And then the house seems to shake as the bear ambles about, looking for me. I get down on my knees and try to squeeze under the desk. I look at the phone again, and it's still at 0%. I'm out of time. Ah, hello. The door swings open with a crash, and the bear spots me instantly. He rushes at me, and I let out an involuntary scream. I dive out from under the desk as soon as he's on top of me and try to roll away. He's big, but slow as hell, and I manage to get to my feet. It's at that moment that I remember Leo's gun. But just as my eyes flick in the direction, he lunges at me and swings a fist at my face. I jerk back, but he still clipped my chin, sending me into a spin, and my world into blackness. I stare at the floor, mind wandering in circles. There's heavy breathing above me, and as I get to my hands and knees, something impacts my side so hard it sends me rolling into the wall. I stare at the ceiling, lungs broken as I writhe around for air. The bear obscures my vision, then reaches down to grab me by the shirt and yanks me up. He stares at me, and I stare back before he swings me into the wall again, and my vision goes dim. He does it again, then again. On the 5th swing, the dimming finally turns to black. I don't know, I like that version. Right, and if you go for the front door rather than the kitchen. Because you get caught immediately in the kitchen, but you see, like, the mound of meat on the stove? Yeah. The darkness that surrounds me is painful. I feel like I'm floating in a black sea, and nothing about it is comforting and peaceful, or peaceful. It's like a fitful, yes, day doze. God, this sentence is just tripping me up today. When you have a really bad fever. It feels awful and murky and sick. I feel my head tilt back, and a lightning bolt arcs through my head. I try to open my eyes, but they only manage to flutter, and I see flashes of red above me. Something is hooked under my back, and I'm dangling from it. I imagine a rope tied around me, holding me above the dark abyss below. Is this hell? I grit my teeth as the searing red becomes too much to look at, and I close my eyes again. This must be a nightmare, one that feels too real. I've had this before, and I know how to deal with them. Just need to go back to sleep, to drift off, and I'll wake up in my bed. Go back to sleep and wake up back in my dorm. Wait, in Echo? I try to think. I try to prod back into my memories. Where was I last? What was the last thing that I remember doing? Trying to remember is monumental, more than I can handle, and fortunately, I drift back into unconsciousness. I'm pulled back into the sickly dark as something jolts my body. I grimace and gasp. I am filled with such a feeling of unprovoked loneliness and despair that I actually feel my eyes watering and a sob escapes my mouth. I hear a soft chuckle above me and I go quiet. I still don't know where I am or what's going on. Going on at all. But that laugh is enough to tell me that I don't want to be here, be where I am. The feeling of hanging from a rope is gone now. Instead, I'm lying on something flat and hard and my arms and legs are spread out. The air is cool now on my skin and my skin is cold and wet, like I've been sweating a lot. The feeling is especially strong around my back and I want to roll over, but I can't. Something is holding my arms down and there's a rattling sound when I try to move. I moan and try to open my eyes again, though it's almost like they're glued shut. With a little more effort, I manage to crack one open. At first, all I see is a blur of color above me, and I have to blink a few times to clear it. Slowly, the image comes together, and I'm able to make out that someone is there above me. Oh. Okay. I feel my blood run cold, realizing that someone has been watching me this whole time. But I'm lying down. How is someone on the ceiling? I try to speak, but only a dry, crackling squeak comes out of my throat. Yeah, that happens to me sometimes. At this point, my vision has cleared enough to make out an otter. An otter? I squint. A blue shirt, beige pants. I gasp and reflexively try to draw back from the thing. Is it me? It smiles. It's missing my goatee. How? The flat surface I'm lying on tilts precariously on my stomach lurches. I try to clutch? Yes, at the surface, though there's nothing to grab onto. I shut my eyes and gag as I feel my throat swirling around inside me. All I can do is pray for it to stop, feeling like everything around me is about to fall over. The ache in my head is magnified tenfold and tears start to leak from my eyes. Just then, I think I'm about to slip off to face of the earth. The ground starts to tilt back the other way. I swallow and gasp for air, my entire body shaking and sweating all over again. I feel like I've been swimming too long and my body is exhausted. What the hell is going on? I remember that someone was staring down at me from the ceiling, and I open my eyes again, fearful. I don't know, I like these CGs a lot. The Shadow Chase one is actually one of my favorites. He's just so neat. I cringe as I see that same otter staring down at me. The otter that's clearly wearing the same clothing as I am. But now I'm not smiling. A tear-stained expression is on its face. It's a mirror. A mirror on the ceiling. I try to sit up and come up short, and gagging as something tightens around my neck. I try to move my hands to whatever it is, and that doesn't work either. The same rattling sound I hear earlier makes me look towards my right hand, and what I see makes my blood freeze. Around my wrist is what looks like a leather strap. I desperately look at my other hand and find the same result. Looking at my feet, I see the same contraptions fixed on my ankles. When I try to lift one of my feet, I see metal glinting from underneath, and making me think that the leather is bolted into the platform. A panic rises up in my chest, and I kick my feet and try to flail my hands, and the straps hold firm into what looks like wooden planks, which is the platform that I'm laying on. They're arranged in a way to leave me spread eagle. Over the leather, I can smell all kinds of musk, though the strongest one reminds me of Clint. I try to lift up my head, but the thing around my throat is too tight, and it instantly makes me choke again. My head throbs. Tears start to form in my eyes again, and I try to think back. Where the fuck am I? Is this a prank of some kind? Maybe my friends at the dorm trying to scare me. Had I been drinking at a party? No, wait, I'm an Echo. That's the last place I remember being. I'm here for a project, and I'd been with my old friends. Don't lie to yourself, Chase. I was with Leo, and I had been at the diner. Suddenly, all of the horrible things that had happened that day came rushing back. Janice, Clint, Brian, the gun. Oh my god. Had that really happened? I struggle a bit more, then I try to think. I had run to Leo's house. Leo, I don't know what happened to him. I left him with Duke. And then Brian, he's been chasing me and tried to break in. I start to breathe heavily again as I realize where I might be. Brian got me when I was trying to run and hide. He just fucking attacked me. I look around. I'm in a small room, what looks like a living room of some kind. There's a couch to my right, and on the wall with a clock on it to the left, ticking away. Damn, bitch, you live like this? There's a window, too, and along with the ticking, the window blows outside, and the only other sound that I can hear. Looking down towards my legs, I can see what looks like a tiny kitchen, with some, cupboards and a countertop. Dishes and junk are piled high along the length of the counter, and it smells like cigarette smoke. Judging by the layout and size of the place, it looks like I'm in a trailer home. A small moan of terror escapes my lips. I'm in Brian's home. I remember Cud telling me that he lived in one. Tears start leaking out my eyes again, even though the crying is making my head throb all over again. All I can think about is what he was doing to Clint. No, I have to calm down. I don't want to attract any attention if he's actually nearby. After what happened in the diner, the cops should be on their way, if they aren't already. No, people eat in the diner all the time. Someone, one of my friends probably, would find it and call someone. I just have to wait until they find me. I swallow again, feeling my body break out into a cold sweat all over again. What's going on? They wanted something from us. I remember that, at least. But what? Duke had been saying something about seeing things, and that we might be responsible. I squeeze my eyes shut and shake my head, but then immediately stop when my head throbs from the movement. None of this makes any sense at all. Am I still dreaming? At that moment, I hear a soft mumbling in the distance, through the thin wall of the trailer. I freeze and hold my breath. It's a little ways off, but I'm almost positive that it's Duke. Its high, wheezily whine mixed with the occasional smoker's cough is unmistakable. It's coming closer, and I can start to make out what he's saying. Because we're already fucked here. You think we can just let them go and it'll all be fine. I don't know if what he's talking about, or who he's talking to, but the sound of an accompanying heavy, lumbering step gives me an idea. It's worth it, though, if we can figure out what the fuck is going on. It sounds like they're right up against the trailer now. I can hear them walking around towards the small door on the right side of the kitchen. Leo ain't saying shit, but I think it might be the otter. He's the one I seen last week. The footsteps stop in front of the door, and I listen hard, my heart pounding in my chest. I hope you haven't done anything to him. I didn't. Brian's uncharacteristically high-pitched voice sends a chill up my spine, my fur flaring out with it. You bet your ass you haven't. If you do any of your fucked up shit with him. I stop breathing, staring at my terrified expression in the mirror. Hello, see it, Asu. What I'm saying is we still got a chance to get out of this. What we've done is bad enough, but if we can get him to understand. They stop talking, and that's when I hear Brian's heavy, labored breathing. I'm not breathing at all, worried that they'll be able to hear it, even though they already know I'm here. I let it out with a gasp, and the door suddenly swings open, and Duke comes up the steps, looking around before spotting me. Brian, you are one sick fuck. I tense up as the massive shadow appears behind him, and it feels like the entire trailer tips a bit as Brian makes his way up the same steps. Brian's presence is so imposing and frightening that I don't even notice that Duke is now right next to me. I jump when he sets a hand on my left arm. I jerk my head to look at him, wide-eyed. Hey, calm down. We ain't gonna hurt you. Brian chuckles, and Duke shoots him a look. He turns his attention back to me, softening his expression, at least as much as he can with his scraggly, drug-fucked face. We just gotta get some information from you. I open my mouth to speak, but all that comes out is a dry squeak. Brian chuckles again and makes his way to stand to my right. I cringe away from him as his stench of old sweat as he grinds down at me with his yellow teeth. Oh, grins down, sorry. Duke, get some fucking water. Brian looks at Duke with a strange face before turning back to the kitchen. Hey, don't worry about him. I know this thing. Duke taps one of the boards with a finger. Looks bad, but we just gotta hold you here for a bit. He's a queer. He likes it. Duke glares at him as Brian comes back from the kitchen with a ceramic mug. I really don't know how I'm supposed to do Brian's voice. Like, they describe it as, like, high-pitched. And I'm like, what do you mean high-pitched? What does that fucking mean? What do you mean? I don't know. You're a queer, too. Brian visibly bristles as his face loses any of the sick humor it once had. Duke clears his throat. Things have been happening here, and we want to find out why. What? Duke furrows his brow, like a kid trying to figure out something difficult. You see, people ain't right in the head here. No shit. Duke seems to immediately read my thought process because he holds up his hand and shakes his head. Yeah, I know. What we're doing ain't exactly right in the head either. Brian gives this dumb chuckle again, but I keep my face averted from him, partly because I really can't stand his smell. But we're all a little fucked up here. What I'm talking about is something else, like what you saw with Janice. I shift a little as I'm reminded about what happened in the diner. Is she dead? Duke looks genuinely sad. I don't know, but it's a goddamn shame. But you saw the way she came at me. That's the shit I'm talking about. I look at the weasel's waistband and immediately see the handgun tucked into his pants there. And I was hoping to stop it before any of this happened, but now... everything's gone to shit. Brian finishes for him, and I can feel him move closer to the platform I'm laying on. Again, I avoid eye contact and not wanting to provoke him in any way. Yep, and it only is gonna get worse. Duke just looks at me like that's all the information that I need. I don't know what you're talking about. I see a twitch of irritation in Duke's face, and I hold my breath. I mean, what happened out there? Duke shakes his head. What's happening everywhere? It wasn't just Janice that lost her mind. Duke looks back at the window suddenly, his fur standing on end. I look too, but all I see is the leaves and branches, the late afternoon sun filtering through them. Duke's quiet for a while before he starts speaking again without turning around. It happened to my granddaddy and my daddy. Now it's happening to us. I close my eyes, wondering if Duke is just as crazy as Janice was. If he does, I doubt he even has a clue what he's doing right now. Dale's missing. Cynthia's driven off into the desert. Duke turns around to look at me. We saw your cat friend running down the street on the way here, saying someone is after him. TJ? Thing is, we've all got something after us. Something bad. Won't let you leave when it starts.
What's after you?
I flinch as Brian speaks just above me, leaning down towards my face.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Bullshit! I flinch again as Duke's concerned demeanor immediately drops away. Why do you think you came to get why we came to get Leo and you? He pauses, like I should actually know the answer. I feel myself starting to panic again, with these two crazy hillbillies looming over me. I don't know what. Duke slaps me and I gasp in shock. Yeah, I saw you hanging around this fucking town before you even got here. Late at night, lurking around. I'm still cringing from the slap, and I keep my eyes closed, as if not seeing any of this is going to make it stop. And then once all your friends got here, all hell breaks loose. You think that's a fucking coincidence? It's quiet for a moment, and all I hear is the rush of blood in my ears. This is really happening. I feel Duke touch my arm again, and I flinch in fear. Hey? I feel like he wants me to look at him, so I slowly open my eyes, a tear spilling out as I do. The blurry shape of Duke dances in front of me. I'm not saying you did it, or that you wanted it to happen. I don't say anything because I still don't know what he's talking about, and I know I can't tell him that. It's just that you gotta know something. Anything that we can stop this. Duke starts to pet my arm and I shiver. Brian is breathing heavy next to me, and I glance at him. Shows that his expression is more interested now, almost eager. Duke still hasn't answered my question. It makes no sense that they'd go as far as to kidnap us. But why didn't you just ask us? Why all of this? I lift my hands weakly, making the platform rattle. Duke's face darkens. Because I'd been asking Leo all week what the fuck you guys are doing, and he wouldn't say shit. Then Duke stops, petting my arm and scratches behind his head. And, someone told me that you would know. I stare at him. What? Who? Someone I know. And it makes sense. Something bad's happening, and if you don't fix it, it won't stop coming after you. I shut my eyes and almost sob. Says they know, and I thought it had to be you or Leo, considering what we've been seeing these past few weeks. Duke pauses. Or maybe one of your other friends. My mind briefly flashes to TJ. I don't know what you're talking about. I wait for another slap, but it doesn't come. I open my eyes again, and Duke is looking back out the window. We're kind of protecting you, too. I stare at the back of his head. Things are getting worse out there, and if we don't figure out something out soon, we're all gonna die. Duke's voice is dead and distant. Brian, though, touches my other arm, and I gasp, shrinking away. He's smirking down at me, looking at my stomach or crotch, or whatever, somewhere around there. Brian, stop! Duke is turned back around, looking over at me. Wait, looking over me at the bear. That is what that says, Josh. We're not getting anywhere right now, and I gotta go back to the wolf. Even though Duke is the one that hit me, I'm terrified at the thought of being left alone with Brian. Duke sees my face. Don't worry, Chase. Even though you're lying to us, I don't plan to let this pervert have his way with you. Brian snorts. Brian knows what will happen if he does. Duke gives Brian a cold, callous stare, and this time Brian doesn't give his stupid grin back. But you'd better hope your fuck buddy says something soon, because if not, we might have to get mean. Duke heads for the door, turning to look over his shoulder. Just feed him and make sure he doesn't escape. That's it. And with that, Duke briskly disappears out the door. A golden flash of afternoon sun of light lightens up the dim trailer.
Brian and I listen to the weasel's soft, anxious footsteps receding into the distance. Ah, excuse me. As soon as the sound is gone, Brian stands up. I turn my head in time to see him whirl around and smash his fist into the wall. I jump as much as I can in my restraints before he does it again, this time slamming both his fists against the wall. Fucking faggot! He screams so loudly, my ears immediately start ringing. I think he's talking to me, so I brace myself for what I'm sure is gonna be the worst moment of my life. But he stalks right past me, not even looking at me. Instead, he strides up to the kitchen counter. Once there, he picks up a dirty pan, then raises it over his head before bringing it down with a crash. I hear glass shatter before he does it again and again. Goddamn cocksucking piece of shit! He throws the pan across the room to crash into the wall. I'll fucking kill him! I'll kill that fucking cunt! I stare at him, my eyes wide as I jump from him, as I watch him stamp his feet like a little kid. Then he slaps himself across the face twice. After that, he closes his hands into a fist and punches himself in the head repeatedly. It's with a force that would knock me out cold. It might be funny if I wasn't tied down to a contraption in a trailer belonging to Brian. Brian stumbles after what seems like the fifth blow and covers his face. His massive shoulders shake with sobs. Thinks he can do whatever the fuck he wants. Thinks he can boss me around. Brian whirls around and slams both his fists into the counter several more times, the sound of shifting glass accompanying it. Yeah, I'll kill him! Kill him! Kill him! His voice crescendos in pitch and volume before he finally slams against the counter, a head in his hands as he starts crying again. I breathe as quietly as I can, not wanting to draw any attention to myself. I'll get him. I'll fucking get him. Won't control me no more. Suddenly, his quaking shoulders freeze. Slowly, he turns with a sinking heart. I realize he's looking right at me. The fur on his cheeks, already matted before, are now flat and shiny with wet. Snot running from his nose down to his upper lip. Then I see red dripping from his left fist. The fur on his right is matted with blood as well. He watches me for a while, then grins. Am I funny to you? I open my mouth, but nothing comes out. He suddenly strides right up to the end of my platform, standing between my spread legs. I feel numb, the fear taking up every fiber of my being. I feel nothing else. You like seeing him make fun of me. I try to speak again, but still nothing comes out. I swallow. No. My lips tremble and my voice shakes. I've never stuttered so hard in my life. You know what I'd do to you if I could. Brian sneers down at me, the wet fur on his cheeks bristling out. Oh, I swear to God, I'd tear your balls off right fucking now. He rests a huge hand on my crotch and presses down. I cringe and whine. Please! Brian's grin only gets bigger, and he rubs his crotch with his other hand as he watches me wince. Oh, good. You already know how to beg. He leans forward, towards my face, moving his hand to clamp around my mouth. And then I'd hang you for hours. I stare at him, breathing hard through my nose, tears leaking down the sides of my face. His hand slides down my mouth to my neck, and he starts to squeeze. Then I'd give you a little stool to stand on when you start to go out. Then I'd kick it away again. I gasp and gag, both from the squeezing and from his reeking breath. He stares hard at me, and I can feel his crotch grinding up against mine. He's hard. Then he blinks and slowly pulls back. He watches me gasp and sob for a while before reaching down again. I try to turn my head away, letting out a moan of terror. But he doesn't grab my neck again. Instead, he prods and teases the fur, checking the skin on my neck. Better not bruise, if that fucking cocksucker saw that. His expression darkens again. If you fucking tell Duke about this! He raises a fist, and I cringe. No, I won't, I swear! I turn my head away, eyeing his raised fist. He holds it there for a while, watching me. He seems to be calculating something, like he's wondering if he can get away with what he's about to do. Then he seems to make up his mind. Good. With that, he slams his fist down right into the center of my torso, just below the ribs. My vision flashes, and I hear a raspy, droning wheeze as I realize it's coming from my mouth. It goes on until there's no air left in me, and then I can't breathe in again. My vision goes black, and I suffocate, writhing against the restraints, wanting to curl up into a little ball and disappear. It feels like hours, days, before I finally get a sip of air. My mouth gapes as I try to suck it in fast. Brian is standing over me, and I'm somehow surprised that he's got a worried look on his face. He probably thinks he's killed me. But then my stomach starts to turn and lurch. Before I even realize I'm about to puke, a gush of vomit fills my mouth, and I start to choke. Shit! Brian hurries to my side as I'm giving a second heave mixed with a gag. He tips the platform over sideways. His huge paw pushes my face to the side to look at the ground as I watch as all spills to the ugly shag carpet. When I finish, Brian slowly tilts the table back up, looking at me with disgust. At this point, I am too tired to cry. Instead, I lay there in a daze, occasionally hacking or coughing. Brian goes for the kitchen, rustling around a while before returning with water and paper towels. He wipes my face and nose before tilting my head up to drink the water. Rinse and spit! He holds the mug there until I do as he says. Then he gets down to his knees. I watch his head bob up and down as he busies himself with the mess on the floor, muttering about Duke finding out. I'm too numb to really care right now, though. Right now, I'm starting to realize that I might not survive this. Brian calms down pretty quick after his tantrum. Once he cleans up the mess, he splays out on the couch and starts watching TV. It's some kind of cartoon about a pink cat, and he actually laughs along with the juvenile jokes. What do you think he's watching, guys? I always like to think he's watching, like, Snagglepuss. I don't know why. That's my first thought. But, that's just me. While this goes on, I lay quietly against the platform, trying not to start crying again. My mind keeps wandering back for hours, how everything seemed fine for the most part. I keep wishing I could go back to the beginning of the week. Thinking about that makes me sentimental, and I'm longing to see Leo, TJ, Carl, Jenna, and even Flynn again. Where are they all right now? Duke says things were bad out there. Are they all in some sort of trouble? If that's the case, the cops should be here by now. Someone would have gotten the word out, wouldn't they? If people were murdering each other, like what happened to Janice, there's no way that wouldn't be the case. Brian lets out another explosive laugh, wiggling his feet as on the armrest of the couch.
Earlier, he tried to feed me some dry cereal, but it was like cardboard in my mouth, and after only a handful, I couldn't eat anymore. Oh, come on. You don't like dry cereal, Chase? I'm just thankful that he's preoccupied with something else right now. There's a soft knock on the door as Brian jumps, quickly changing the channel to golf before he gets up and lumbers over to the door. He pauses, then rifles through some magazines on the table next to the couch. He pulls out a handgun, then looks cartoonishly small in his hand before making his way to the door. I weakly turn my head in his direction and watch Brian open the door a crack. He chuckles. "World's going to shit, and you're still here for more, eh?" Brian pulls the door back a little bit, and I catch sight of a skinny, malnourished polecat. Clint is looking up at Brian, appearing even more disheveled than usual. So, are we doing? Clint had stepped up onto the first step and looked into the trailer, immediately spotting me. He stares, the shock on his face almost comical. Brian turns to see what he's looking at, as if he'd forgotten that I was even there. He gives a start before shoving Clint back out the door. I'm full today. Already got someone taking your spot." Clint's now out of my line of sight, and I can hear him shuffling around in the dead vegetation. "Please, I really need something right now. We can do it outside." There's a moment of silence as as Brian seems to contemplate that. No, I got some business to take care of. Tomorrow, maybe." Clint starts to whine again, but Brian swings the door shut with a bang. A fucking dopehead. Brian walks back into the room, looking down at me, then back to the TV. "Probably shouldn't have let him see you, though." He mumbles before sitting back down and switching the channel back to the cartoon. I stare back up at my reflection. Even from here, I can see that my eyes are bloodshot, the fur on my face matted. There are dark spots on my shirt, too, and distantly I wonder if Brian had broken my ribs when he punched me. Then I remember that his hand had been bleeding when he did that. I feel strange right now, numb. It kind of feels good after the whirlwind of emotions I've had earlier. It still hadn't caught up to everything that's happened since I was in that diner. Would I even be able to? Would I have time if Brian planned to? A twinge of pain pierces through my fog of disassociation, and I clench my eyes shut, screwing up my face as I try to start crying. Try not to start crying again. That is what that says. Brian snorts again at something on the TV. My eyes open to the distant otter laying on the wooden torture contraption. Why is there a mirror on the ceiling? I surprised myself a little by asking the question. Apparently, I really don't give a fuck at this point. Why would you? I see Brian look over at me from my peripheral vision. You really want to know? I shrug the best I can, continuing to stare passively up at the ceiling. The movement sends the electric tingle through my arm, which are completely numb at this point. Well, Brian shifts around on the couch as he tries to get a better look at me. When I have my fun, I likes them to see what I'm doing. I stare up at the mirror, my expression still blank. I mean, it's not just about what I'm feeling. What they're feeling is important, too. Fear. That's what Brian likes. Sure, I can choke you all I want, or cut you all I want, but when I do that, you're not thinking about what's actually happening. Brian shifts into a sitting position, and now more interested in our conversation than his cartoons. I realize now I've probably made a mistake. Wanna see? I keep my face blank, staring at myself. I don't say anything. Brian gets up anyway and comes around to stand over me, above my head, blocking my view of the mirror. His reeking stench fills my nostrils, but still, I try not to give him the satisfaction of seeing how afraid I'm starting to become. His massive hands reach around my head and start to fiddle with something I can't see. With one quick motion, the strap comes back down over my neck and my eyes widen. I grit my teeth and try to press my head as hard as I can into the platform behind my head to lessen the strain. It's not a lot of pressure, but it's enough to make me want to gag. Brian chuckles again.
See, you're probably only thinking about how it's hard to breathe right now. Just trying to figure out how to make it stop, but...
Brian leans back, revealing a terror-stricken otter on the ceiling, his eyes bulging, teeth bared.
Now you see what's happening to you. Your brain telling you this is really fucking happening.
The leather squeaks a little as he pulls it down tighter. I start to writhe at this point, and I see my tongue sticking out, my face a mask of horror.
You feel more, and that's what I like.
Brian comes back into my view, his expression different. He's really searching my face now, like he's looking for something.
Maybe you like it too.
Finally, with a final squeak of leather, Brian lets go, and I gasp hungrily for air. Brian pets my head while I cough, inhaling shakily.
Don't exaggerate. That was nothing.
He moves away again and slumps back into his couch, pulling at his crotch.
Your buddy Clint gets it way worse.
I choose not to stare at the choking otter on the ceiling, and instead look out the window, feeling fresh tears roll down my face. I'm not sure if it's from the choking or the black hole in my chest. I watch the leaves rustling around in the wind and think about where the others are, why no one's come to help me. Finally, I turn my head back to the ceiling. The blank expression has returned. Brian continues to chuckle at his cartoons, and despite myself, I ask another question. Have you ever killed someone? Maybe you should ask yourself that, Chase. For the first time, Brian ignores me. I don't say anything for the rest of the day. I stare into the darkness. The only faint source of light coming from the moonlight leaves from the window. It's been less than 24 hours since I'd been kidnapped. Still, it makes no sense that someone hasn't found me. Is what Duke said about the town true? I wonder what Leo's doing right now, if what he's going through is just as bad. I doubt it. At least Luke seems slightly less unhinged. I give a soft, trembling sigh, my head still throbbing from the day's events. The thunderous snoring from Brian is literally shaking the platform I'm on, and though I drift off a few times, I can't sleep. He's right next to me, his stained couch apparently doubling as his bed. I shift around on the contraption for what feels like the 100th time, trying to get comfortable when I feel something. Wasn't there a bed in Arches, though? Am I crazy? I thought there was a bed there. I thought there was a bed in the background for that one. Maybe I'm crazy. I know I'm crazy. I shift around on the contraption for what feels like the 100th time, trying to get comfortable when I feel something. There's more give in my right arm than I remember. In fact, it's incredibly loose. I pause, then experimentally wiggle my arm around before easily pulling my hand out from the restraint. I freeze, disbelief, not wanting to believe in case it isn't true somehow. Painfully, I crane my neck to look at my right arm. Though it's dark, I can see that my arm is clearly free, my elbow on the board, hand in the air. I swallow hard, listening to Brian's snores again to make sure he's actually asleep. I try to keep my breathing even, not wanting to make any more sound than I need to, but I'm almost sobbing with relief at this point. Now that I'm able to partially sit up and make short work of the left arm restraint, fully sitting up now, I do away with the final two ankle restraints and slide off the table quietly. Brian is still snoring at full volume, and it covers up what little noise I make. Making my way over to the messy floor, I find the steps, and try not to stumble down them to open the door. Incredibly, there's no squeaking or rattling as I do before, and before I know it, I'm outside in the cool air. I run through the woods and onto the road, sobbing with joy now that I can see Leo's house. The lights are on, and as I'm running towards it, I think I even see Carl's horns through the window. Really? Okay. I run up to the steps onto the porch and bang on the door. Leo? Carl? I got out! Open the door! I try the handle, and it opens, swinging inward to blackness. I stare, trying to comprehend. You really fell for that? I hear my own voice, and it isn't me that said it. Instead, it's higher pitched, like I'm hearing it from a voice recorder rather than my own throat. Then I'm sucked into the blackness and slammed hard back down onto a wooden platform. All at once, I realize what happened, and my heart feels like it dropped through my chest. Of course, a dream. I'm back in the hot, stifling trailer, and it looks even darker than it did in my dreams. I close my eyes and start to cry quietly. It feels like I've just found out that I'm locked up in a psycho's trailer all over again. I turn my head and look out the window above Brian, longing for some daylight. And then I see two white eyes set against a black face staring back in at mine. I jump. What the fuck? Am I still dreaming? Then I see the two beige-colored ears above the head. Kudzu? I gasp again, quieter. I'm overcome with relief once again, but the fear that I'm still dreaming is almost overpowering. I wave my left hand as much as I can, but I'm not sure he can see it. I realize that none of the light from the window was falling on me. Kudzu moves to the side, then back again, squinting clearly to trying to see inside. I think about making some noise, calling out his name, but I have no idea how deep of a sleeper Brian is. As if on cue, Brian gives a louder snore and rolls over. Kudzu seems to have heard it, his big ears perking down before he ducks down. Yeah, perking as he ducks down, yes. My heart hurts just losing sight of him, and I strain at my bonds. Brian seems to be waking up, though, mumbling something in his sleep. No, you're dead! I pull my right arm again, in case my dream had been onto something. It doesn't budge. Fucking cunt! Brian really starting to kick around now, his massive forearm rolling over onto his stomach, or rubbing his face into the pillow. He starts to make loud gasping sounds, and he gets to his knees on the bed. Back off! He holds his hands up, snarling. You're dead! You're dead! I stare at him, almost forgetting about Kudzu. His eyes are open, and they snap at me, his hands still out. No! No! His face is etched with horror, eyes wide and white in the darkness. He backs up against the back of the couch as he continues to stare. I stare back at him, unsure of what he's going to do. After about 10 seconds, his expression starts to melt from from horror to confusion. I continue to stare back, bracing for another explosion from him, for whatever reason. His shoulders droop again, and he frowns at me. Did you see her? My mouth is dry, so I have to swallow a few times before I can answer. Who? Brian doesn't respond, and starts to look around the trailer. I see Kudzu starting to poke his head up again. At this point, I've made it up in my mind that I want to escape tonight.
I'm not going to spend another minute with this maniac. Making a decision that could mean life or death, so suddenly it terrifies and exhilarating. I don't give myself time to think about it. Brian! He doesn't answer, starting to get up and look around. Brian, I have to go to the bathroom. Brian sighs as he flips on the lights. Brian drops out of view. Kudzu drops out of view again. Brian heaves a sigh and, before turning to the counter, he reaches for a pan and dumps out some murky water into the sink. I wrinkle my nose. He shrugs at me. What? This'll do. No, I have to use your toilet. My stomach is feeling really bad right now. Brian turns and really looks at me. Like what? You gonna puke? I shift to the platform. No, I think I have diarrhea. Brian pulls a look of extreme disgust, which is kind of funny from someone who apparently never showers. Oh, come on! He glares at me like it's my fault that I might be sick. He looks around for a while, then back down at the pan. The bear seems to quickly discard that idea and sets it down on the counter. He comes over next to me and starts to undo the restraints. If you try anything... No, I promise. I just really need to go. Brian grumbles as he starts to roughly undo my restraints. I take care not to look at his crotch as it's pressed uncomfortably close to my face. As he pulls my right arm out, I gasp in shock and pain. It feels like a million needles are poking through it as he pushes my arm down next to my body. Wait, fuck! Brian pauses as he watches me grimace. Yeah, grimace in pain, and I worry he's getting off to it. At that moment, though, there's some rustling next to the window, and I try to groan over it. Oh, fuck! The bear looks at me, bewildered and annoyed. What? Now my dream seems to be more ridiculous that I had so easily been able to run off. Everything's fallen asleep. Just take it slow. Brian sighs even louder and gets to work on my left arm anyway. This time he doesn't yank my arm out though, and lets me slowly move it on my own. It's not nearly as bad as my right arm, which is still violently tingling, but I have to grit my teeth as I move it to the rest of my chest. Okay, luckily my legs are fine and I'm able to move them easily after Brian takes them out. It makes me worry about what I'm going to try since I'm not nearly as strong as I should be. Brian is clearly on guard as he helps me sit up from my contraption, keeping the distance as he holds onto my arm. I sit there a moment, letting the circulation return to my limbs as I try to fall back from the dizziness. Brian finally gives a growl of annoyance and pulls me off to the wooden platform. Okay. I realize that this is the moment I have to make my move. There's nothing nearby for me to grab, so instead I swing with everything I have to smash my fist up against the side of Brian's face. Something cracks in my hand and pain runs through my arm. I gasp and cringe, and Brian grunts. Brian pauses and slowly brings his hand up to feel the side of his face. I guess I'd hoped that I would be able to knock him out with one punch. But doing that as an otter to a bear, especially a bear like Brian, would have been quite the feat. Brian does seem stunned though, and that's all I need to take that huge breath and scream as loud as I can. Kudzu! Brian whirls on me, swinging his fist along with him. I duck immediately, covering my head with one arm, the other still locked in Brian's grasp. He only partially misses, his fist catching the top of my head and my arm. It knocks me to the ground, and I sit there in a daze. I don't have to collect myself because Brian is pulling a foot back to kick me. Shut up! I roll to the side and start trying to back away while I'm Crouched, but Brian yanks me up by my arm, my head jerking back with the force. Now I'm starting to wonder if Kudzu ended up leaving. If that is the case, then I'm definitely dead, because there's no way I'm gonna break his grasp. As I'm thinking this, the door bangs open. Brian is in the middle of drawing his fist back when it happens, and he freezes, looking over at the door. Look how small he is. Look at this small boy. He's like half the size of Brian. Kudzu stands there, his eyes wide behind his black mask, chest heaving. He's scared, I can tell, but Brian's shock gives me the opening I was looking for. I reach in between his legs and grab his balls. Weirdly enough, the first thought I have is about how fucking big it is. It takes both my hands to wrap around it fully, and then when I do, I twist and yank down as hard as I can. I pour all of my fear and anger into the attack, snarling as I do. The scream that Brian lets out is so high-pitched, I feel like every glass in the trailer is going to explode. This attack is all I have left, so when his retaliation comes, I don't have anything to defend myself with. Luckily, it's not a punch or a kick, but rather he grabs the fur on the back of my head, along with my shirt, and tries to pull me back. My face stretches back as I stubbornly hold on and just yank down even harder. His sack is stretched and distorted so badly it's barely even recognizable as balls. His screaming suddenly cuts off with the sound of a deep, sickening smack. Immediately, Brian's body crumples onto me as I fall into his hands and knees. It happens in a way that he splays out over me, a face inches from mine. Oh, by the way, I did Google the definition of crumples, and it actually isn't that bad. It just means like a wrinkle or a fold. So like using it as a way for me to say like I crumpled, it could just mean that I crouched to the ground, you know, which like is mostly what happened that one time I made that tweet. You know, it's fine, it's fine. It happens in a way that he's splayed over me, his face inches from mine. I have time to smell his gag-induced breath before the sound happens again. And this time I see Kudzu swinging something down hard from overhead, and Brian's head jolts. I watch as his eyes lose their focus on me, and he slumps down. I turn my head sideways as he comes to rest on my body, crushing the air from my lungs. Kudzu is there immediately and pushes Brian's body aside to the point of being able to pull me out. He pulls me into a sitting position next to him.
Are you okay?
He's shaking, and I hear I can hear his ragged breath in my ear. The contrast between being engulfed in Brian's stench and smelling Kudzu's shampooed fur and peppermint breath is striking. I can't speak, and instead I lean against Kudzu and wrap my arms around him as I sob. Kudzu holds me as he looks me over.
Can you walk?
I nod silently as I press my face into his fur and I shudder and on his shoulder. That's what that says.
All right, come on. We can't stay here.
And he stands slowly, keeping me in the embrace as he guides me towards the door. I don't remember much about the walk back to Kudzu's house, aside from stilted flashes of dirt and sagebrush, probably filled with ticks. It's dark and hot, and my shirt immediately starts to stick to my sweaty fur. My legs are so numb that I don't even know if I'm moving them right. Kudzu has to move onto me the entire way so I don't fall over. Crickets chirp all around us, but every few minutes I hear shouts and screams in the distance. I try to look over my shoulder to see if Brian is coming after us, but Kudzu grunts and tells me to keep watching my steps. Some circulation has returned to my legs, and I'm able, to at least match Kudzu's stride over the uneven dirt road. Still, it feels like 1,000 needles are stabbing up my feet and legs in waves with every step I take. I'm genuinely afraid that I'm going to walk up any
wake up any second and find myself stuck in Brian's trailer. Would that really be so bad? None of this seems real. I'm still watching my feet on the ground, so I don't notice Kudzu's house until I almost kick the bottom step of his rusty trailer. And just the sight of a trailer is sending chills up my spine, even though Brian's trailer looks very different compared to Kudzu's. We stand in front of his door for a while as the raccoon fishes for his pockets for his keys. It's made extra difficult with me hanging on him. I can stand on my own if you...
Got it.
And Kudzu whips out a small gold-colored key before sliding it into the lock. Once we're inside, Kudzu immediately kicks the door behind us before reaching to turn the deadlock. Would that matter at this point? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you know that he could just punch down the door. It's just a trailer door. That's not, like, the most secure thing in the world. The inside of Kudzu's trailer is the opposite of the exterior. It's brightly lit, tidy, nothing like Brian's place. It's a little cramped, as any trailer would be, but the furniture is arranged neatly and the kitchen is spotless. Everything looks way newer than the trailer is on the outside. I imagine the raccoon did a lot of work to get it to look like this. Kudzu quickly guides me to a small love seat and makes as if to lay me down. I put a hand against his chest, feeling my stomach turn. Wait, I think I'd rather sit up.
Do you need anything? Food or a drink?
Kudzu's looking into my eyes with his dark brown, the brows above them furrowed in a deep concern. I nod slowly so as not to upset my stomach again. Just water, please.
Sure.
Kudzu quickly hurries off to the kitchen, and I slowly lean into the cushions behind me. I'm not tired at all, but I feel numb, and not just physically. My arms throb, and it feels like the leather straps are still bound around my wrists. It even feels like they're being pulled by an invisible force. Like if I relax, my arms would float back up into their fixed position. I shudder, hugging my body, then look around, trying to find something else to focus on. A grouping of 3 pictures frames on the small side table next to the love seat catches my attention. From where I'm sitting, I can see Kudzu in one of them, beaming at the camera. It's actually kind of weird to see him smiling like that. There's an arm around his neck, and I start to lean over a bit to see who it is.
Here.
Kudzu appears in front of me again, holding out a glass of water. I straighten back up against the cushions. Once I take the glass, he holds up his other hand with 2 white pills, resting in the back pad of his palm.
Acetaminophen, if you're in pain.
I definitely am, so I take it and the glass without a word and swallow it down. For a second, my stomach sours and I feel like it's gonna come back up, but only for a second. Does anyone else have issues, like, taking, like, a normal full-sized pill like that? Like, when I take acetaminophen or whatever, I like to bite the pill in half and then swallow, like, the 2 halves. Or the 4, if I have 2. Like, I like to just bite them in half first. And every time I do that, people stare at me and think that I'm insane. Because I would just be sitting there in class and I would just take out, like, acetaminophen, just bite the pill in half and then swallow them. People would just be like, that's awful. Why? No. And I'm like, whatever, it's fine. You got a drink, you can wash it down. No worries. You know, it's a perfectly normal thing to do. Kudzu steps back and watches me. Even though his face maintains its stoic, almost glare, I see his hands fidgeting together in front of his stomach. I nod weakly at a recliner across from me. You want to sit or something? And Kudzu seems to consider, then walks over to the recliner. He sits on the very edge of the cushion, back rigid, continues to stare at me. I take another sip of water, less this time, as to not to upset my stomach. It looks like he wants to say something, but keeps silent, lips pressed together. Kudzu watches me the whole time. What's wrong? Kazu opens his mouth, then closes it, thinking before opening it again.
Are you okay?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think. I'm not really sure if I am completely okay. Everything is still numb. I still, my thoughts feel sluggish too, and something that's been nagging at the back of my mind since I got here suddenly bubbles up to the surface. Did you call the police? I absentmindedly reach for my phone in my pocket, but it's not there. I have no idea where it is at this point. You probably left it at Leo's place. Was it at Leo's place? There's a tight look of concern on Kazu's face.
Phones aren't working. Even my landline isn't working.
My foggy brain tries to process this. What? Why did the phone line break? Or something? Kazu shakes his head.
I don't know.
Should we walk to my car or something and drive to Peyton? I look back out to the pitch black window. We need to tell someone right now. Janice and Leo is still out there. There's no way Janice hasn't been found by now. There should be police everywhere. Where are the cops? I turn back to Kazu, feeling sick again. Kazu doesn't say anything, and he's got a strange look on his face, like he's trying to figure out how to tell me something. Finally, he stands up.
I'll figure something out. Listen, I think you need to get some rest.
I frown. But we need to get someone out here. What if Brian comes after us? I shrink into myself at the thought, feeling goosebumps erupt on my arms. Kazu steps closer to me, awkwardly reaching out to put an arm on my shoulder. A hand on my shoulder. What am I saying? What am I reading?
You'll be fine. Do you want to lay down in my bed?
I don't say anything, my head's still trying to catch up.
It's a waterbed.
Is that supposed to make me feel better? Ah. Waterbeds just sound so uncomfortable. They just sound so uncomfortable. Kazu adds, as if that makes the offer more tempting. He thinks.
You hungry? I have some muffins. It might help you get to sleep.
I shake my head. What? No. I want to get the fuck out of here. A loud pop makes me jump, and I stand up. I'm not sure what I'm about to do, but Kazu reaches out gently to hold on to me before pulling me away from the window. Faintly, I hear some shouting outside, but it's far away. What was that? Is someone shooting? I look at Kazu, starting to feel desperate. He puts an arm around me, at the same time moving towards the end of the trailer, where a big bed is tucked in.
I don't know. A lot of things are happening right now, so I think we should stay here to be safe, okay? For now, at least.
I hold on to the raccoon, unsure of what to do.
Listen.
He holds me by both arms, and I look back at him.
You gotta trust me that we can't leave right now. I'll explain it all after you've rested for a bit.
He pauses.
I can tell you're not really here right now.
Here right now?
You'll feel better once you wake up, alright?
The thought of laying down is tempting despite feeling that I'm going insane. If I sleep, I don't have to think, just blank my mind and rest. My head is buzzing and I feel like lying down might straighten things out. Kazu gently but firmly forces me to sit down on the bed. Despite his slender build, I can feel the strength in his lean muscles. But what about Brian and Duke? Kazu, slowly pushes me down onto the bed, the water underneath the surface sloshing faintly. See, that just seems like that's not comfortable, right? Like I'm that kind of guy who likes a more firm bed. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to sink into a bed. I want to, like, you know, It's whatever. I haven't actually been on a waterbed for years. Carl used to have one. Where is Carl? Dead in a ditch. Where is everyone? I want to go back to the motel and find my friends again, but Kudzu seems adamant on keeping me here.
I got Leo's gun. Saw it on the ground when I went to check on you guys.
He must have been able to tell from the look on my face that I am not at ease, because he reaches out again to rest a hand on chest. It's still awkward, but it's comforting at least.
I'll be here all night, and nothing's going to happen.
That does make me feel better, at least well enough to maybe get some sleep. Okay. I stare at the ceiling as I lay back. I still feel numb, but in a way that helps me blank my mind. In what feels like less than a minute, I pass out. Nah, even when I'm like the deadest of tired, right? It still takes me an hour to actually fall asleep. Or at least like half an hour. I think the shortest time it usually takes me to fall asleep is like 20 minutes or so. But I'm usually there for like an hour. You know what I mean? It's fine. That's normal. I feel like if I keep walking around the train tracks, I'll be able to find my way out here. I make sure to walk in the middle, using the planks like stepping stones. The steel rails on either side of me feel like some sort of barrier, a protection to someone, to whatever it is that's out there. I feel a presence in front of me, though, a sort of pressure that builds as I continue to walk. Looking up, I can see that it's coming from that weird grove of trees that bunch up around the train yard. Something is crouched in front of that grove, staring at me from the trees. I keep walking, though, because for some reason I don't feel like I have anything to worry about as long as I stay on the tracks. I notice something else behind the hunched figure. A few bulky objects hanging from the trees. I know what they are before I can even make them out. I keep staring at them as I draw closer, ignoring the thing that's watching me as I do, hearing it breathe as I pass it. Now I can see that there are several bodies hanging from the trees. They're of all shapes and species. Some hang by their necks, others by wrists or ankle. One of them passes me within a few feet, and I notice that it doesn't have legs. Both of them cut off at the thigh. It's a wolf, and he dangles by one of the stumps. Blood stains his dirty cream-colored pants and shirt all the way up to his face. As I pass him, he slowly turns on the rope, as if he's following my progress. I look down at the corpse's face, the mouth hanging open, wide-eyed. It's like he wants to tell me something important. I can feel my body again, but it's numb and heavy. Slowly, I open my eyes and see the beige ceiling of Kudzu's trailer. I flick my eyes to the right and I see Kudzu there, but only his back. He seems frozen, like he's in a photograph. He's not even breathing. I can't see the windows very well from here, but from the small corner I see eyes. When I woke up, Kudzu is next to me in the bed, his back to me, one of his ears folded under his head. Having been with Leo for a few years, I know that can be pretty painful when you wake up. So I reach out and try to slowly adjust Kudzu's ear from under his head, but he immediately wakes up. He makes a funny snorting sound before suddenly jerking up halfway out of the bed, looking back at me. I smile sheepishly. Sorry, I was trying to fix your ear. Kudzu reaches up, poking at the ear.
Oh, thanks.
I notice on the bedside table that there's a small plate with what looks like a blueberry muffin on it. Kudzu notices and reaches out for it.
You want to eat? I ate a couple earlier myself. I didn't realize how hungry I was.
He lowers his ears.
Still one left, though.
My stomach has settled for the most part, so I take the plate from him. Thanks. I mean, if it's the only thing available. It's still dark outside, for what I can see. Did we sleep through the whole day? I realize that I've completely lost track of time. Don't worry, Chase. I literally don't know what day it is anymore. I don't, like... I've lost so much track of time at this point in my life. I wake up, and I legitimately don't know if it's AM or PM anymore, or what day it is. Time is truly an illusion to me. I realize that I've completely lost track of time. What time is it? Kudzu reaches over to the bedside table, grabbing his phone.
2:30 in the morning.
I rub my face. Did we sleep through the day or something?
No, you were asleep for like 2 hours.
Really? It feels like it had been days since what happened at Brian's trailer.
Yeah, I found you around midnight.
Kudzu turns nimbly on his rear on the bed, facing me with his legs crossed.
How are you feeling?
I'm okay. Kudzu gives me a long, hard look. Again, he has the expression of wanting to say something, but he holds back. What is it? Kudzu lets out a breath.
Listen, I'm not gonna ask what happened with Brian, but if you ever want to talk about it.
Talking about Brian is the last thing I want to do, and I can feel the threat of violence, violent shivers coming up from my spine just thinking about him. Kudzu reaches out one of his black hands to rub my shoulder. Awkward and comforting, as always.
I've, been through some stuff myself.
Kudzu catches himself.
Not saying I know what you went through, but I, know how it can feel. Having something really fucked up happen to you.
I don't think I've ever seen Kudzu stumble over his words like this.
I mean, I'm not trying to say that it's comparable if he,
Kudzu trails off, seemingly stunned at his own lack of delicacy? I don't know. Decency? Wait. What is this word? The word is gone. The word is gone. That's just a bunch of letters. For the first time since I left the trailer, I feel a little bit of laughing. Oh, hello, Yellow. I reach up to rub Kudzu's own arm, feeling like I need to comfort him now. No, it's fine, man. He didn't do anything like that, at least not how you think he would. Kudzu watches me. I know he's not gonna ask, so I go on. He, has a thing for asphyxiation, I guess.
Oh, jeez.
Kudzu's eyes immediately go to my neck. I'm fine. It was just creepy. Creepy definitely doesn't begin to describe it, but I don't think now's the time to go into detail. I look out the window again, and aside from a few orange dots of lights from a far-off lamppost, it's black. Can you tell me what's going on now? Kudzu runs a hand through his head sighing heavily and looking out the window with me.
Sure you don't want to wait until morning?
I really don't think I'm able to fall asleep again, honestly. Kudzu continues to stare out the window, and that's when I really start to wonder what it was that I missed.
So, yesterday, about noon is when I saw some weird stuff going on.
Kudzu looks at me.
Your friend, TJ, he came kind of jogging up the road.
My mind flashes back to when I saw TJ running past the diner. I hadn't had time to really figure out what he was doing before Duke barged in. You okay, Josh? No, it's fine.
I'm always fine. Things are great. He said someone was after him, and that he needed to leave.
He talked to you? Where is he? I feel the fur prickle up all over my body. The thought of TJ might be out there, somewhere in the chaos, is terrifying. How could someone like him survive that? I'm certain I'm certainly doing a terrible job.
I don't know. He asked me if I had a car, but I don't, so he kept up the road.
Up the road? There's nothing past Kazu's trailer aside from Carl's house, and that's over a mile away. But Carl doesn't have a car anymore. No, but his family does. Maybe he's just staying with the Ram. I hope that's the case.
After he left, though, is when things really started going crazy.
Kazu shakes his head.
You know Dale.
Yeah? Dale is the only otter in town now that my family has left.
He was walking up the road with a fucking shotgun, pointing it around and stuff.
Is that out of the ordinary for Dale? Okay. I want to get back onto the topic of TJ. If he went up the road away from the town, we could still find him.
But he was bleeding, had cuts on his leg, and his jeans were ripped up.
Oh.
But he knocked on my door. I didn't open it. But he yelled through it saying that there was a meeting in the town center.
What kind of meeting?
A fucked up one, apparently. Anyway, I went over to Leo's house to see if he was home. Then I saw the window.
Kudzu rubs the back of his neck, his ears lowering. Right, Kudzu goes to the town meeting in, like, Flynn's route, right? It's like the only reason why he doesn't go to the town meeting was because he, like, saw Leo's house was broken into or something. Maybe. Kudzu rubs the back of his neck, his ears lowering.
Obviously, I knew some bad shit had happened, but I had no way of knowing what. Anyway, I went to the town center, hoping I'd see you two there. But, just getting there was crazy.
Kudzu looks down at me.
Jeremy's house was burned. And, oh really, it was burning. And Janice's house looked like it had been broken into.
Jeremy's house? That was Jenna's house.
Didn't run into anyone until I got to the townhouse.
This whole thing is just getting bigger and bigger. While I'd been in Brian's trailer, everything had been falling apart outside. But why? What's going on? Kudzu shakes his head.
I still don't know that, even after they told me.
Who?
The older guy, Mark, and the mayor said something about this having happened before, that it was our turn or something.
Our turn? What does that mean? Kudzu shakes his head again.
I don't know. They just said it happened to their grandparents, that we had to be ready.
Ready? Did they tell us what to do?
Said to pray.
Is that all they told you?
Basically. Acted like there was nothing else we could do about it, and,
Kudzu pauses. What?
They also said that we can't leave and showed us a body.
Oh, so he did go to the town center for this route. Okay, I understand. I get it. Kudzu stops talking. Nice stare. Like a dead body? Kudzu swallows and nods. What's going on? I feel my voice rise in pitch, and Kudzu puts up his hands as if trying to quiet me down.
I don't know, but they were weird cuts on the body. They said we couldn't leave town because something out there will stop us if we try to leave.
I stare at Kudzu. Like a serial killer or something?
They wouldn't say. They acted like it's a monster.
Well, they were lying, right? Right? Kudzu is quiet for a moment, then shakes his head.
After everything I've seen, I don't know.
Well, I think, trying to figure out what the hell we're going to do. Well, we need to find Leo at least. Kudzu nods, like he's already thought about that. Then maybe get my car and try to leave. Kudzu doesn't say anything to that. But if we can't leave for whatever reason, then we at least have to find the rest of my friends. I look at Kudzu. Well, I do. I don't know what we're going to do. What you're going to be... Okay. Kudzu gives me a wry smile.
Well, I don't have anywhere else to go, aside from out of here. Besides, I owe it to Leo to get him out.
I feel a warm rush of relief flowing over me, knowing Kudzu will be with me. I don't think I'd be able to do any of this alone.
So we're gonna get Leo?
Kudzu nods.
Well, I am at least. You should really stay here. Get some more rest after what we went through.
Of course, I'd rather stay here and hide until Kudzu comes back. But Leo tried to save me back at the diner, or risked his life to do it. After everything Leo had done to me, Kudzu shakes his head.
I don't think so. I'll make things easier if it's just me.
Kudzu shifts, looking towards the kitchen.
Besides, I'll have Leo's gun with me in case something goes wrong.
He was my boyfriend. He does say was. I can't just sit here while you save him. Kudzu pauses.
Listen, I know Leo and I knew.
I know Leo and I know.
He would never want me to bring you into something like this.
Yeah, well, Leo not wanting me to do something never stopped me before. Getting defiant, like this is making me feel better. It gives me purpose again. Kudzu looks like he's about to shake his head again, but I continue. Besides, it might help things. One of us could go in while the other distracts Duke or something. Kudzu looks unsure, so I press my advantage. And if something goes wrong, one of us would be there to help the other. Kudzu pauses at one of his whiskers.
Maybe if it's just Duke there.
He might not even be there. He might be at Brian's trailer or somewhere else in town. Kudzu sighs, then looks me right in the eyes.
Are you sure you want to do this?
I'm not, but I nod anyway. Oh. That's a good scene transition. I like it. We try to keep off the road in the brush on our way to Duke's house. Despite our situation, the biggest thing on my mind right now is Tix. See, it's always like this. It's always like this with Chase. He just talks about, like, I know that I add in dialogue of him, like, going like, "Oh, Tix," but, like, it gets mentioned more than, like, I would expect. Anyway, I don't know. Is that a big problem in the Southwest? I know, like, in the North it's a problem, but I don't know if it's also a problem in, like, the Southwest. You know what I mean? Despite our situation, the biggest thing is Tix. Funny how the mind works. The faint shouts and yelling coming from the town are more frequent now. Another pop comes from that direction. It reminds me of the gun Kudzu had tucked into his waistband. He's never used one before, and it took us a solid couple of minutes to decide if he should stick it there. Another pop. I can't help but think that that's where the motel is, where Jenna might be. Here, though, not much is out of place aside from the smell of smoke on the breeze. That is until we come across a body hanging from a tree, about 100 yards from Duke's house. I'm the first person to notice it, and when I do, I gasp and instinctively reach for Kudzu. He catches my hand, then looks up as he holds on to me. It's high up, maybe 50 feet, but from the markings on his fur, I think it's a fox.
Oh, Jesus!
Kudzu whispers next to me, and I look away, feeling my stomach turn again.
What the hell? How did he get up there?
I look back and see that he's hanging by his wrists. I don't think he could have done that by himself.
Yeah.
We both stare up at him for a little while longer, long enough to notice that the vertical slashes down his back.
Those are the same cuts I saw in the other guy.
Kudzu whispers distractedly. But who put him up there? Kudzu's silent, and I keep staring up at the guy, the first dead guy that I've ever seen. Suddenly, all of my motivation to get Leo starts to evaporate. Kudzu rests a hand on my shoulder, and I jump.
Sorry.
Kudzu pats me.
You alright? I'll take you back, okay?
That sounds like the best idea in the world right now. I hesitate. Then I think of Leo. I imagine him in the same situation as I was with Brian. Duke doesn't seem as fucked up, but I have no idea what he's capable of. The thought makes me feel like if my heart is dropping through the ground, so I grit my teeth and shake my head.
No, I'm okay.
Kudzu looks at me closely, then nods.
Okay, let's move back towards the road. Though I don't think anyone is around right now anyway.
I want to move towards the road, too, mainly because I'm actually starting to worry that moving further away from the town really is dangerous. Duke's house is dark as we approach. As we get closer, though, I see flashes of light from the window well. We both crouch next to the house, behind a small cluster of sagebrush.
Alright, so all I can really think to do is knock on the door, see if he's there.
I swallow. You'd stay behind?
You'd stay behind.
I can't read the sentence. Give me a second.
You'd stay hiding, of course. But if he does come out, I don't know. I may try to put him down right there.
Then I'd come out and help. Kudzu lets out a low chuckle.
Yeah, but again, I'm not sure if that's what I'll do. We might be able to talk him out of this.
Yeah. I don't have much faith in that plan.
But if he isn't there, well, we'll probably go in and find Leo, alright?
Okay. My heart rate picks up, and as I realize how close we are to making this happen, I start to have second thoughts. Maybe we should have at least looked for the sheriff. Maybe we should have gone straight to the motel.
Alright.
I could tell Kudzu is nervous too, as he wipes his hand on his tank top before standing up slowly.
Just watch from here. If he comes out with his gun, though, I'm not gonna try anything.
He hesitates.
And if I get shot or something, don't help. Just run back to my house and start looking for your other friends, I guess.
Now I'm really starting to feel unprepared for all of this. Everything is moving so fast. There isn't really any time, though. We have to save Leo as fast as possible. There's no telling what Duke might be doing with him. As Kudzu starts to move away, I get the urge to hug him. He's done so much for me already, saving me and trying to save Leo. But by now, he's already halfway across the yard to the house. I hold my breath and watch as Kudzu's dark form melts and with the blackness of the house. It's like he's being swallowed up by it in a way. After a few moments, I hear him knock on the door. I listen, trying to breathe through my mouth instead of whistling. What, whistling? Instead of my whistling nose, so I can better hear what's going on. Kudzu knocks again, much more loudly.
Hey, it's Cud! I need some help!
I look up and down the road, worried someone's going to hear him shouting. There's a slight rustling behind me, and I look back, eyes wide. I don't see anything at first, but then I feel like there's a shape behind some of the grove of sagebrush about 20 feet back. Something crouched. The moonlight defines its shape through the brush. I squint, completely stopping my breathing. It looks like it has a tail, a really thick one, like an otter. Was it Dale? I can't even tell if it really is a person, though.
Chase!
Kudzu whisper shouts, and I jump before stumbling to my feet. The shape behind me doesn't move at all, and I try to reassure myself that it's probably a rock. I jog over to Kudzu as he tries the door, trying to not think too much about what I just saw.
Locked.
He looks around for a while, then starts moving down the side of the house.
Look for a window.
Are you gonna break one?
Maybe. Should only one of us, should only take us a minute to sweep the house. Then we can get the hell out.
We quickly spot a window on the back of the house. Kudzu looks in and bites his lip.
I'm just worried that Dale might still be in there with a gun or something.
He bends over, picking up a sizable rock.
Welp, not much choice. If I say run, run. Got it.
I nod, and Kudzu lifts the rock over above his head before smashing it through the window. Violent. The sound is probably the loudest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. I cover my own ears like they're gonna lessen the sound. Kudzu jumps to my side, away from the window, reaching back to hold on to me. The fur on Kudzu's back frizzles. Frizzes up, and I see his ears perk up as soon as they can go back. Once they go back. Once the final tinkering of glass subsides, we both listen. My ears are ringing, but the only other sound I can hear are the chirping of crickets. Finally, Kudzu lets out a soft breath.
All right, let's go.
I help him push out a few more shards of glass. Once we're done, the raccoon hoists himself inside, very carefully maneuvering around the sharp, broken edges. He turns and reaches out to me, helping me through in the same fashion. Even though I'm trying to be careful, when I bring my arm in, it drags along the jagged edge of glass sticking out from the side. I grimace, and the fiery pain takes a moment to really set in.
Shit, you okay?
He grabs my wrist so he can pull my arm to examine it by the moonlight and sucks in a breath.
Oh fuck, you might need stitches for that.
That's when I see the blood starting to ooze out from the fur. It's only about an inch long, but the amount of blood coming out is surprising. Damn it! I'll take care of it after we find Leo. I pull my arm away, despite Kudzu still trying to take a look at it.
All right, we'll see if we can't find something to wrap it up in.
Kudzu starts fumbling along the wall and finds a light switch. Ah, okay. Oh, he's got a little quaint fireplace. I'm surprised to see how fairly quaint and tidy a tidy home. Unlike Kudzu's trailer, though, it's barely anything in it. There's a single sofa and a very old-fashioned TV in what I presume is the living room. There's a fireplace and a few dirty-looking chairs on the other end of the room. In front of us is a long hallway with a few doors on both sides.
All right, check every room and door. It's not a very big house.
Kudzu sets off down the hall.
Look for the stairs. I feel like he's been in the basement.
As Kudzu goes into a room to the left, I peer into one on the right. It looks like a bedroom with a single twin in the middle of the room. Yeah, I take a few steps in, looking around and not seeing anything else. When I turn back around, I see some pictures framed hanging up on the wall. It seems kind of odd for someone like Duke to have those up. In the pictures, I see a much younger Duke, or at least a pre-meth Duke. Next to him is a female weasel, her smile small compared to the Duke's toothy grin. She's in the three other pictures next to that one. Weird. I wonder what... I wouldn't have thought anyone would want to be with Duke, especially someone as pretty as that weasel. I move on to the next room, and this one is completely empty, painted white. The next door down is the last one on the right side of the hall. This one is the only door that's closed, and like the last room's wall, it's painted white. It's taller and seems to be a bit thicker than the other doors. When I try the knob, it's locked. Kudzu? I whisper, and Kudzu pokes his head out from the door from behind me.
What's up?
I point at the door in front of me. This one's locked. Kudzu stands in front of the door and presses his ear to it. I see his hand hover in front of the cracks between the door of its frame. Then he reaches out to my hand and pulls it up to the same spot. He looks at me.
You feel that?
I'm about to say no, but then there's a noticeable cooler draft coming from within. It's kind of cold.
The basement. I bet my ass that Leo is down there.
I swallow. Should we try to break down the door or something?
I don't...
Kudzu hears something. Kudzu's ears suddenly perk up straight, and his eyes widen. My fur bristles. What? That's when I hear it, the crunching of gravel. Kudzu grabs my arm and starts pulling me back down the hall towards the back door where the window broke. At the moment, I hear the doorknob turn, and suddenly my path changes direction as Kudzu steers me into a room to our left. It's the room I hadn't looked into myself, and I see that it's a storage room. Boxes are everywhere, and so is a bunch of junk. I guess that explains why all of the other rooms are so spotless, and that he's not using the basement for storage. Kudzu looks around desperately for a moment, and then pulls me behind a mound of boxes, just as I hear the door swinging open.
The problem ain't that he's got away.
Duke is practically screeching when he comes inside, as if he's been waiting to be indoors before he yelled. Underneath the Duke's pattered feet on the wooden floor, I hear 2 loud thumps. Yes, and I know immediately who's with him. My blood runs cold and my breathing starts to stop, worried that they'd be able to hear even that.
If he's behind all of this, he's gonna make things so much worse.
Huh. I hear a non-committal grunt from the bear, and I shudder at the sound of his voice again. I feel a light touch on my back as Kudzu rests his hands there, trying to comfort me.
What do you mean, huh? You like the dreams you're having right now? 'Cause trust me, it's gonna get a hell of a lot worse.
I hear a smacking sound, which I imagine is Duke's tiny hand trying to slap Brian in the face.
What the fuck are you staring at?
Duke's grating, nasally voice echoes around the carpetless house.
Your window.
There's a moment of silence as I hear some shifting around, and suddenly I hear Duke's footsteps bristle down the hall. Bustle. I duck more deeply behind the boxes as he passes the doorway to our room.
Fuck! Is someone fucking in here?
Duh. Brian's lumbered down the hall, basically standing right in front of our room. I hear 2 more thumps and a bunch of rustling as Duke ineffectively beats at the bear's bulk.
Fucking idiot! They broke in!
I hear a jingling of keys as Duke continues to shout.
Check every fucking room. I'll bet they broke through the basement window too. Fuck!
Now that he says it, breaking through the basement window might have been a better idea. Looking between a crack in the boxes, I get a flash of the weasel walking past the door again. He's holding something long and shiny. I shrink back against the boxes, wondering how in the world I got here. As I stare at the ground, I also wonder if I'm about to have a heart attack. I focus on watching the blood seep from my arm, pooling at the wooden floor next to me. I hear a key go into a lock and a doorknob turn.
I swear to God, if that wolf ain't down there, I'll blow your goddamn face off.
Duke's voice fades away, accompanied by receding footsteps down the stairs. The heavy footfall of Brian starts to move around slowly towards the other end of the hall. Kudzu moves his hand to my shoulder. I look at him, and he holds a finger up to his lips, then points in the direction of the broken window. I don't want to move at all. In fact, I'd rather sit there and just disappear into the floor. Somehow, though, I'm able to force myself to my feet as Kudzu tugs me. We move very slowly to the doorway, and there Kudzu holds up a hand, making me pause. I watch in I watch his ears perk, flicking in the direction of Brian. My hearing probably isn't nearly as good as his, but I'm still able to pick up the bear's heavy, labored breathing. I hear some shuffling, then more heavy footsteps. Kudzu freezes as we both listen to the bear move back into the hallway. Then his footsteps fade away. I imagine he's moving into another room, and that's when Kudzu finally peers around the corner. I hold my breath, but Kudzu reaches back and grabs my wrist, pulling me out into the hallway. It's empty as quietly and quickly as we can. We move to the end of the hall to stand next to the broken window. Kudzu sticks one leg out the window before balancing his entire weight on both his hands and are resting on both ledges. Like a gymnast, he moves the other leg out and quietly drops to the ground outside, his head narrowly missing the top ledge. I don't know if it's because he's a raccoon or even or an actual gymnast, but there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that. Kudzu's already reaching for me through, though, his eyes wide with frantic worry. I can hear shuffling sounds behind me again, coming from one of the rooms. Kudzu reaches out towards me, then suddenly waves his hand wildly in the direction of the room next to me. Heart pounding, I almost stumble through the doorway into the room. This one has a few chairs stacked up against the side of the wall and what looks like a closet door. Brian's footsteps, thump down the hallway again, and I almost gasp as I get a glimpse of his massive shadow through the doorway. But then it disappears as I hear his footsteps move into the room next to me. From just inside the room, I see Kudzu slowly pop back up from the window, then motion frantically towards him. My legs are like jelly, though, and I hesitate. Then there's a raspy, dragging sound in the room next to me that almost makes me jump. It's the sound of a cardboard box being slid across the floor. I hear Brian mumbling.
Definitely not paint.
I force my numbed feet to stumble out into the hallway towards the window. Kudzu reaches for me, his eyes desperate, but then I hear the shuffling behind me again. Why is he moving so fast now? Automatically, I step back into the room while Kudzu continues to beckon to himself. Brian's lumbering footsteps move down the hallway, slowly in my direction. Kudzu has ducked back down, out of sight. I'm alone and trapped. I remember the closet at the last minute and lunge towards it, not having enough time to worry about the sound I make. Somehow, the closet glides open with hardly a sound, as if the hinges had been recently greased. I step inside, then swing the door shut, trying not to let it snap closed. At that exact moment, Brian's lumbering gait enters the room. I shrink back against the wall, holding my hands to my mouth, trying not to breathe. My heartbeat is so loud, it's the only thing I can hear as it pounds in my ears. I hear coughing and grunting coming from behind the door, then it goes quiet. I wait, unsure of whether the bear has left or not. Slowly, I walk up to the door, pressing the side of my head gently against it. I listen, trying to see if I can hear anything. I swallow, then reach up to rest my hand on the doorknob. I think about making a run for it, maybe trying to dive through the window. I might get hurt, but I'm able to get away. I wait for what feels like 2 or maybe 3 minutes. It's complete silence on the other side. I wait even longer, to the point where I'm sure there's no way someone like Brian could keep that quiet that long. So slowly, as slowly as I can, I push the door open, and it immediately comes into contact with something on the other side before it's even a foot open. It's soft, whatever it is, and the door almost bounces back from it. I wait for a moment. Then I'm starting to realize what just happened. A massive bear paw reaches around the edge of the door. In the next half second, the door is ripped open, and I find myself facing Brian. A weird, numbing feeling spreads down from my crotch into my legs, and I sag in front of the bear. My mind refuses to think, to even process what my eyes are seeing. What it does process is pure terror. Brian seems to have trouble understanding what he's seeing as well. He stares at me for a few seconds, his eyes practically crossing as he focuses on me. Then he grins.
Hey, you.
I can't respond. Instead, I press back into the closet, flattening myself against the wall as he reaches out for me. Still, there isn't much I can do as he grabs the front of my shirt, yanks me out of the closet. He starts to pull me towards the doorway, and as I stumble into the hall, I'm finally able to start trying to move again. Seeing the window, I lunge towards it, but Brian's grip is too strong. I hear a few popping sounds as the threads in my shirts give out, and Brian yanks me back violently. Everything goes black as something massive knocks up against the side of my face, and the next thing I know, I'm thrown down the hall, flat on my back. I'm staring up at the ceiling, watching it slide sideways above me, like it's painted onto a treadmill. My right foot is hiked into the air, and I realize that Brian's dragging me along the floor now, back towards the end of the hall. The fur on my back glides easily along the hardwood, my shirt scrunching up to my chest. Brian stops as he reaches for the white door, pushing it open. Dizzily, I look up to the window, wondering if Kudzu is there, and if he can see me. I reach towards it, but that's when I'm being dragged again, and I land painfully on the first step. I gasp and turn sideways, so that Brian drags me clumsily down the rest of the steps. My spine isn't taking the rest of the corners. It's dark, and the air turns cool and musty. We finally reach the bottom of the steps, a pain pulsing at various points on my body from the rough handling. Brian starts dragging me again, and I finally realize that he's going to have me trapped again. He'll do whatever his sick mind thinks up, and there won't be anything there to stop me. No, I moan. I try to grab something, anything to stop me from being pulled deeper into the basement. My hand manages to latch onto a wooden beam next to the stairs. Brian grunts as my body is snapped into full tension, and we're brought to a halt.
Come on, let go.
I keep clinging to the beam, imagining that at any moment Kudzu is going to come running down the stairs, gun in hand. That comes to an end as Brian kicks me in the chest, and I let go with a wheeze.
You know you're the one making this harder on yourself.
He starts dragging me again as I curl up and cradle my chest, vaguely hoping that he'd given me a heart attack and that I'd be free from all this.
I swear to God, if you're lying to me, Leo, I'm gonna paint the ceiling with your fucking brains. Why am I still here if someone came to save me then?
The sound of Leo's voice has me snapping my eyes open again. While it isn't quite as heartening as Kudzu barging in with a weapon, it's definitely relieving to hear his voice again. I'm dragged through another doorway into the brightly lit room, the fluorescent light buzzing overhead. As I come to a stop on the cement floor, the room goes quiet and I squint against the sudden light. The walls on all sides are covered in shelves that are filled with silver tins and soup cans. A storage room of some kind. Duke is standing in the middle of the room next to the metal chair, staring at me. And that chair is Leo. His arms are down at his side, and I can see that they're both handcuffed to the side of the chair. His feet are similarly strapped to the chair's legs. His face is one of shock as he's also stares at me, open-mouthed. I stare back, even while feeling weirdly self-conscious as everyone watches me. Duke breaks the silence.
I knew it!
Duke is snarling, but it's not at me. Instead, he looks at Brian, his lips drawn back as he growls.
This is what the fuck happens.
Brian scratches his head.
What happens? Duke kicks at the air with a foot before stomping down on the hard cement that makes up the floor of the room.
This! Leo wasn't supposed to know he got away.
Well, I caught him, so what's the difference? Duke lunges at Brian, swinging his arm a few times to beat his fists uselessly against the bear's bulk. Brian flinches back anyway, letting go of my foot. Leo still staring down at me, mouth slightly less open, and I have no idea what's going on in his mind right now. I suddenly realize how stupid I was to come here with Kudzu. Sure, saving Leo as soon as possible was important, but why had I thought we could do it alone? I should be in my car right now, halfway to Peyton, 20 minutes away from the cops. Instead, I'm in Duke's basement, about to be murdered. I slowly sit up just as Duke seems to finish his beating of Brian. Gasping, he turns to me.
Fuck, well, if you're here, I guess we'll just have to make use of you.
He waves his hand loosely behind me and Brian.
Pick him up.
Wait a sec. Just
shut up.
Brian picks me up roughly, almost encircling my chest with his hand alone, as he pins my arm to my side. He holds me in front of Leo, and Duke stands to the side between us. It's only now that I notice the puffiness in Leo's left eye, some crusted blood near his brow, with some more coming from his lower lip. It's not terrible, but it's clear that he's been hit a few times. As I watch him, I see the fear in his eyes reflected back at me. That alone almost scares me more than the situation we're in.
Not smirking anymore, are ya?
Duke bares his teeth in Leo's direction.
Been trying to wipe it off your face this whole time, and turns out this was all I needed to do it.
Duke gestures at me.
You're a little fuckarder.
Leo closes his eyes and shakes his head.
Why are you here?
He mumbles it, almost to himself. Duke leans closer to the wolf.
Why didn't you run if you got away?
Leo opens his eyes, and he's looking straight at me. I don't know if he expected me to answer, but the look of defeat on his face makes me feel like I have. We wanted to save you. We didn't know where we were, or what was happening. Duke suddenly leans away from Leo towards me, his eyes narrow.
We? Who's we?
I feel my stomach drop as I realize what I've just done. I mean us. I saw some of my friends out there before I came here, but I'm alone. Duke studies me closely.
Was there anyone else up there, Brian?
Brian is sulking behind me, letting go of my shoulder occasionally to rub his chin.
I didn't see nobody except this otter.
Duke looks up at the ceiling. I'm gonna sneeze.
Oh dear. That's fine. Nap, nap, nap. That's all good. That's all good. Okay.
Duke looks up at the ceiling, like he's listening for his footsteps or something.
Duke.
Oh, thank you, Michael.
Duke snaps his attention back to Leo, and I notice his face is practically dancing with twitches and tics.
This is crazy!
Leo enunciates each word through gritted teeth, his muzzle lowered. Okay, no, okay. I had to check if that was blood or not, but that's okay, we're good for now. Thought I smelled iron for a second, so wanted to check. His muzzle lowered so that he's looking up at Duke's eye to eye.
Look at this! Look at everything you've done! It makes no sense!
Duke lets out a high-pitched laugh.
Crazy! You know what's crazy.
Duke gestures at me again.
Ask him what he saw out there. Duke turns to face me, swinging his hand from me to Leo. Go on! Tell him! He doesn't believe me. The corner of Duke's eyes seem to have a mind of their own, like there's some kind of living creature under the surface, writhing around. Was it a little crazy? I stare at with Duke, entranced until Brian gives me a quick jerk. I saw a body. There were gunshots. Duke giggles. And that ain't the half of it. Houses on fire, people eating each other. You think I'm crazy for shooting Janice, but if you knew.
But how the hell are we supposed to know why that is?
Leo leans forward, as far as his bounds let him, eyes wide, almost pleading with the Duke. This started when you got here. Duke lowers his voice dangerously, leaning down towards Leo, their noses almost touching.
That doesn't mean shit.
Leo speaks haltingly. Back at the weasel. Does this? What is this word? Duke suddenly pulls his gun out from his waistband and his pants, and points it straight at my face. I'm barely able to comprehend it before Brian jumps to the side of me, out of the way of the gun.
Fucking Christ, Duke! Don't point it at me!
Leo almost stands up on his toes with the chair still attached to his body, fur bristling all over his body. Duke's lowered his gun though, still watching Leo. Leo slumps back into his chair, trembling.
Just stop, Duke. I don't know anything.
Duke stares for a moment at the wolf, frowning. Then he looks down at his gun, as if contemplating something. Slowly, he looks at me and then points the gun at Leo's head. My heart jumps into my throat as Brian has to hold on to me as I try to hold out my hands.
Wait, what are you doing?
Maybe it is just you, Otter. Wait. It's you I was seeing before you got here. And it was you I saw sneaking around at night.
What the hell are you talking about?
I feel myself start to panic as I see Duke's fingers tighten up around the trigger. I don't know what's happening. Leo's doing his best to keep his head out of the line of fire, leaning his head as far to the side as he can. Duke doesn't seem to be paying attention to him though, instead keeping his eyes on me. Just explain to me why you think it's me. Maybe I can help. That seems to get some sort of reaction out of Duke, as he lowers the gun a bit. The problem now, though, is that it's pointed at Leo's chest, and there's no way he can avoid that. Duke is studying me carefully, and as if trying to figure out what to say. Just know that, you know this has happened before. Oh, sorry, that looks loud on the levels. Let me, that's been going for a hot minute, hasn't it? Sorry about that, folks. My mind races.
The mass hysteria thing, like 100 years ago.
Yeah, that's right. See? How do you know that? He looks closely at me, but I'm relieved as he finally takes the gun away from Leo to be pointed at the ground. I did some research before coming here. I'm doing a news story on Echo for school. Duke is still eyeing me suspiciously. So you know about the murder? I try to think back to my research about what exactly happened. It was a while ago now, and I planned to fill in the gaps when I got back to Pueblo. Kind of. It happened in the mine. Yeah, it did. And then people went nuts. I wait, but Duke doesn't go on, filling the air with awkward silence. I can see Leo's head through looking back and forth, probably trying to come up with a way to get out of this. I hope he's figured something out, because I have no idea how we're going to do that. But
Do you know why? I'm trying to sift through Duke's psyche to figure out why he thinks this might be related to Leo and I. Duke's breathing has leveled off, and with his calmness, there's a feeling that we've managed to ride out the storm. Maybe my grandpappy lived through it all, through it all, and stayed in the town after. Oh? I noticed Leo not looking around anymore. Instead, his eyes are trained on the door behind me and slightly to my right. I want to look back, but Duke seems distracted right now, so I try to keep him engaged. Yeah, it happened weeks after the body was found. Sort of built up till all hell broke loose. Leo nods his head slightly, eyes still on the door, and my heart leaps to my chest as I realize what might be happening. Do you know why that was? Duke shakes his head. There's something bad in this town. The earth's bad, the air's bad. Everything's tainted. So, you think something's in the air, or water, or something? I lean a bit to the left to try to keep Duke's eyes on me, away from Leo or the door. I don't know about that, but my grandpappy thought that, 'cause they didn't catch the murderer, it planted some seeds in the bad dirt. Duke looks at the ceiling. And grew something terrible. Wasn't until they killed the guy that did it that it stopped. That's news to me. I didn't read anything that the murderer had been caught. Duke looks back down at me. So I don't know what it is. If it's the murder, or the guilt, or the catching something that did wrong. I hear the softest sound of a foot pad against the floor behind me, and I pray that none of the others did. But it started when you got here. So you gotta forgive me for wondering if one of you did something bad. Duke starts to raise the gun again. And brought that guilt back to this poisoned land to grow the seeds again. Duke doesn't sound like himself at all, not even his recent crazed self. Still, though, I don't want to admit it. I start to have the idea of what Duke might be getting at. How this all fits into our history. What was that kid's name a while back that died in the lake? He wasn't murdered. You sure about that? Yes. But I'm not, am I? I swallow hard, aware that some of the pieces don't fit, despite how disturbing the implications are. But that was years ago. Why did it start then? Why didn't it start then? Why now? Duke shrugs. Maybe you wasn't guilty till now. Maybe kids don't understand what they've done. Maybe it's 'cause you left, and it made it angry. But he wasn't murdered. You see it happen? No, but the person that did wouldn't even do that. So am I talking to the wrong guy right now? Who was it? I look over at Leo again, swallowing hard. Who was it? Duke starts to raise the gun again, and what happens over the course of the next minute is too fast for me to comprehend until it's over. Leo explodes out from his sitting position, a face twisted with rage as he bares his teeth in a full wolf snarl. Through his feet, are handcuffed to the legs of the chair. He's still able to lunge off the ground with his feet. Lit. He launches himself at Duke, slamming into the weasel with a painful crunch of flesh and crunch of flesh on flesh and metal concrete. I gasp and watch as Leo starts ripping on Duke with his teeth. Duke screams and flails his arms around, apparently forgetting his weapon as it flies from his fingers. The gun slides across the ground to tap gently against the wall just 5 feet away from me. Brian keeps a tight grip on me, but that's when I hear a clicking sound behind me. Brian does too, and he turns sideways, allowing me to see the source as well. And there stands Kudzu, both hands on Leo's handgun as he points it at Brian's head. It clicks uselessly though, and Kudzu's face is a mixed mask of terror, desperation, and confusion. The safety! Leo is still struggling on the ground with a screaming Duke, lifting his mouth from the weasel's arm to shout at Kudzu. See, at least Leo got a gun with a safety feature, right? You know, safety first. See, Leo's alright. Kudzu's eyes snap to the gun in his hand, but Brian's already moving. He kicks at Kudzu's hand, and it connects violently, sending the gun flying into the air to clap against the ceiling. Brian lets go of me at that point, reaching out to catch the gun. Because no one's fighting over Duke's gun, I realize that might be my best chance. I lunge in the opposite direction. Clumsily, I scoop up the weasel's gun, turning it over in my hand until I'm holding it the right way. Brian, my gun! Leo still tearing away at the weasel as Duke holds them up in defense. I turn around, crouched back against the wall as I see Brian standing over a downed Kudzu. I can only pray that he hasn't killed him. I point the gun at Brian just as he turns around to face me. Seeing that he's about to get shot, the bear lunges at me, his massive paws upstretched, stretching out towards me. Luckily for me, the gun is loaded. Trying to keep myself steady, I've managed to find the safety and flick it off. I shoot him right in the face. The sound is so loud in the tiny room that my hearing goes out for a moment. Brian crumples to the floor and the room goes quiet, but only for a moment. An earthy howl sounds from the bear as he slowly props himself up in his hands, looking back at me. For a moment, I wonder if the evil power of Echo have brought him back to life somehow. But no, there's a bleeding hole just above his blunt nose, and I can see the white bone peeking through the red. Somehow, the bullet doesn't even pierce his skull. Shakily, I raise the gun again, but Brian rolls away to the door, and with speed that shouldn't be possible for a bear his size, he's gone. I shake for a moment, wondering if I should run after him, but I snarl next to me as he points the gun at Duke instead. Leo's still tearing into his arm as Duke hollers at the top of his lungs, trying to cover his face. I'd probably just shoot Duke right there. You know what I mean? Like, I've already shot Brian, right? We might as well do the deed to Duke, you know? Just get it over with, you know? No remorse. Or, you know, we can take it slow. Leo, stop. I've got the gun on him. Leo looks at me with his wild eyes, pausing for a moment before slowly letting go of the mustelid's arm, a bloody drool hanging from his chin. I try to ignore that and keep the gun trained on Duke's head as Leo flops to the side of his chair. After seeing how little the bullet had affected Brian, I'm not so confident it will do much damage to Duke. Maybe bears just have thicker skulls, but I'm more worried that the gun is just shit. Well, then you press the gun right up to his head, you know. Duke doesn't move, though, as he lays back against the concrete, eyes closed, gasping for breath. His arms are at his side, both of them leaking blood onto the ground. Leo really did a number on them. He definitely needs to go to the hospital. A hand touches my shoulder and I jump. I look back and see that it's Kudzu.
Sorry, you okay?
Leo's gun hangs slowly from one of his hands. Kudzu, you fucking saved our lives. I grin at him as I almost sob with relief. I want to hug him, but I have to keep the gun on Duke. Of course. I'm sorry I didn't stop him when he took you. I I wasn't sure what to do.
He touches my shoulder again, and I can feel him trembling. Don't worry about it. We're okay now.
Can someone get me out of these handcuffs, please? My arms are fucking killing them. Killing me.
But murder isn't good. I don't know. I feel like I would go through with it. What's stopping me? Morals? Never heard of her. Killing you! You ripped mine up! You ripped mine apart! Duke is practically sobbing now, curled up onto the side to hold his arms to his chest.
Fuck you, asshole!
Leo spits at him as he tries to adjust his position on the floor. Besides, it's not like Chase should have much problem murdering someone.
Where are the keys, Duke?
Duke takes in a shuddering breath and holds it for a second before answering. It's fine, Michael. Right pocket. Kudzu walks over and kneels next to the weasel, shifting through his pockets.
Keep an eye on the door, Chase, in case some blubbergut comes back.
I try to angle myself as I keep an eye on both the door and Duke, even though I'm pretty sure the latter is through at this point. Kudzu pulls the small metal key out before moving over to Leo, fumbling around for a good while before the handcuffs finally drop to the ground. Leo kneels for a moment, wringing out his wrists. You okay? He smiles at me.
I'm a little sore, but I think I'll be okay.
He gets unsteady at his feet, taking a pair of handcuffs up with him, before bending quickly to give me a kiss on the head.
I'm happy you're okay, Chase, and thank you, Kudzu.
He slaps the raccoon on the back before turning his attention to the weasel. Duke notices and quickly curls up tight. I was just trying to help everyone! Leo grabs him by the bloodied arm before yanking him violently to his feet. The weasel screams, double as the wolf twists those arms behind his back, handcuffing them.
Why the hell do you have so many handcuffs anyway?
Duke starts sobbing again until Leo wipes him away. Whips him around and slaps him across the face. Duke sways, stunned by the power of the blow before Leo brings the hand back and hits him on the other cheek.
Shut the fuck up! Leo.
Leo ignores Kudzu as he pulls the chair back and throws Duke into it so violently it almost tips over. Please! I'm sorry! I just wanted help! Duke cowers as Leo raises his hands again. I realize how tightly I'm holding onto the gun, and though I'm pointing it at the ground now, I'm sure it takes I'm sure to take my fingers off the trigger. Now, Leo shouldn't be doing this, right? I should be doing this. While Leo's violence is a little disturbing, it's almost comforting to have him throw his weight around after how the weasel had threatened us. Kudzu, on the other hand, doesn't look comforted at all. He's still trembling from the nearly fight, and he's pulling out the fur on his chin as he watches Leo.
Careful, Leo. Let's take him to the cops or something.
Kudzu looks over his shoulder at the door.
Go into Peyton, and was probably a better idea, now that I realize how messed up everything is.
Yeah.
I mean, if that monster they're talking about isn't real, would he Yeah, would have been better to risk that than get involved with these idiots.
I hadn't even thought about that. The supposed thing keeping everyone from leaving the town. It seems silly now that we'd let the stupid story like that keep us here. Leo doesn't seem to be listening.
You're a fucking lunatic, Duke. Why shouldn't I just kill you right now? Leo.
Leo looks over his shoulder at us, finally shaking his head at Kudzu conspiratorially. Kudzu goes silent as Leo goes back to staring down the weasel.
Now explain to us what the hell is going on.
Leo leans in closer with his bloody muzzle, and Duke cringes back.
Tell the truth, and maybe I'll let you go.
Leo glances at me.
I won't kill you, at least.
Oh, I will. Let's go, and give me the gun. Wait, I'm already holding it. Why haven't you let me? He's trying to make it clear to me that he's just trying to scare Duke. At least that's what I hope he's doing. I already explained! Duke's eyes dart back and forth between us. The way he's kicking his feet around with a high-pitched, whiny voice makes me think of a child. A really ugly, malnourished child. I still feel a little bad for him, though.
Remind me, because I was a little fucking distracted.
Kudzu settles up next to me and sets his hand on my shoulder.
You want to watch the door?
I touch hand in acknowledgement and I turn around to face the door. I don't really think Brian's going to come back, though.
I told yous, something's bad's happening and we need to figure it out.
Yeah, but how did kidnapping us help anything?
Yeah, Duke sighs deeply, and I glance over my shoulder to see him slumping in defeat.
Last time this happened, it might have been caused by a murder. Not the murder, but the guy got away with murder. But that the guy got away with murder.
There's a moment of silence.
Okay.
Leo's tone demands that Duke go on.
So the guilt from the guy, or the worry of the town, or just the spirits. Heck, I don't know. Maybe all of that, but it came together to make everything go crazy.
Okay, sure, but how does this have anything to do with us?
I saws the otter sneaking around town before you say he got here.
I look back again and see Duke looking at me. So is Leo.
Seems kind of fishy to me, so I thought he might have something to do with it all. Was my only lead.
Leo doesn't respond this time. I look back again and see that he's looking at me. What is it?
You told me yourself, Leo, that you saw him sneaking around too.
It was someone else.
How the hell do you know that?
What are you guys talking about? Kudzu, can you watch the door? I finally turn around. Leo leans one hand on the back of Duke's chair, and as he sighs,
if I remember, Chase, I told you how I thought I saw someone out my window that looked like you.
Leo turns his glare back onto Duke.
Got drunk with this asshole and accidentally told him about it too.
But we both saw him. Isn't that a little bit strange?
Some other otter came to the town that looked like Chase. What the hell was wait, what the hell else was it?
Leo glances back at me, and I feel like there's some doubt in his eyes.
I mean, you weren't here, right?
Of course I wasn't.
I know. Just making sure.
Leo turns back to Duke.
Why would that mean anything anyway?
Duke looks around, visibly clenching his toes.
I've heard about doubles, like doppelgangers or something.
Doppelgangers?
Sure, but people talk about that shit happening back then, seeing themselves and stuff.
Okay, but if we believe that shit, why would it mean he has anything to do with anything?
Well, my grandpappy said that the guy did it, was in 2 or 3 places at once sometimes.
There's a moment of silence as we all absorb that bit of information.
Sounds like a load of shit to me, Duke.
Duke jumps up to his seat.
I'm just telling you what I know.
So what's your solution to all of this then?
I don't know. It stopped when they got the guy.
Duke cowers in the chair, then glances at me. Leo follows his gaze, and his eyes turn steely. Duke seems to notice Leo's sudden change in demeanor, but before he can do anything, he gets a massive slap from the wolf.
Leo, stop it!
Duke immediately starts sobbing again and curls into himself.
Me? The fucker wants to get at Chase!
It did seem that way. Did Duke think that the only way to stop all of this town, the problems in this town, was to kill me? Let's find out, Chase. You know, use that gun, invoke your persona.
Duke.
Kudzu tries a different approach, his voice much gentler than Leo's.
The problem with your theory is that Chase hasn't killed anyone. Right, Chase?
Of course not. Of course not.
So, maybe we need to rethink things a little, huh? Or maybe he can do that in a fucking jail cell. We're going back to my van, then we're gonna get the hell out of here. If we can, I still think excuse me. I'm still not sure about that thing the mayor was talking about. What thing? A monster or something. The mayor told us it's killing people that are trying to leave.
Leo stares.
Has the town really gone that fucking crazy?
Kudzu shrugs.
There were bodies. Jesus.
Leo looks around.
Well, it still sounds like bullshit. But if there is anything, we'll find. We'll be fine if we leave in a car.
The motel is closer. We can use my car instead.
Sure.
And Duke is still staring at us with a hard look. I get the feeling that despite all of the things we were just told, he's not buying it. Leo hauls the weasel off the chair, gaining a little squeak of pain from Duke as he's forced to break eye contact with me. What about the others? Leave them.
We're gonna try to find everyone we can before we leave, but the priority is to get ourselves to the police station.
Leo pulls me to a stand in front of him before gesturing to Kudzu.
Cud, take the gun. Safety's off now.
Kudzu visibly frowns as I hand it to him.
Yeah, sorry about that. I want Chase between us. I don't want these fuckers to try anything, especially if Brian comes back. Comes back.
So, with Kudzu leading the way, we make our way out of Brian's house and into the night. It's quieter this time around as we head onto the desert road.
Seems like...
Oh, actually, I think it would be best if we stopped here for the night. Why did I click there? Whoops. We'll do there. Yeah, whatever. Yeah. Because there's still... Oh, whoops. There's still a lot to Sunday. I think it'll take us a while to finish. So, it is what it is. I hope you all were having a good time. Next time we'll have the fun times with like running around, you know, we're gonna have car time. Car time fun. We'll see the new CG, right? Because there's the new CG during the driving segment. I've seen it in the game files, but I haven't seen it while playing. So I'll get to see that in the game proper. But I guess until then, I'll see you guys around.